Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the fourth installment. That's right, the fourth installment of the State of PvM podcast, where on this podcast, we talk about PvM and the state of it. Very self-explanatory. Alright, so would everyone here like to give a brief introduction of who they are, what they do, and what they are doing?
I guess I'll go first.
Okay, let's go. Let's go from. So if you have Sido stream open, let's go. Top left, top bottom left, middle up, middle down, etc. So yeah, Kirby, you go first.
Oh, I'm first. Oh, okay. I am Mulver Kirby. I stream old school RuneScape. Do a lot of PvM, speedrunning, make some guides for like combat achievements. Made the Kirby skip. Been streaming demo mode lately, and yeah, just I have a good time on RuneScape.
Oh, that's pretty popular. Wait, how's the Deadman mode thing going for you?
I got really behind because I kind of started late, and now I'm gonna be gone this weekend for like 3 or 4 days, so I'm gonna be even more behind.
Oh no, Marcus.
But
Hey man, it's vacation, bro. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Gnomester, Gnomer J.
I am No Monkey. I am old school RuneScape villain. RuneScape 3-player professional now, XDD. Pretty good PvM. I do a lot of Toa, a lot of Inferno, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Very respectable. Can we get the man of the hour? Oh boy. Noob type?
Oh,
So
yes, I'm I'm noob type or new type. All I do is what do you call it? Toa and some other PvM stuff. More recent one is with DT2, and whatever's next I'll push further, I guess.
Can't believe you didn't mention it. He literally just uploaded the video about it like 3 days ago.
Oh,
and he didn't mention it. This guy is too humble. What?
It's too humble, bro.
I'm sure we can talk about it later in the podcast. Yeah,
100%.
It's good. It's a big topic, I bet. I'm Hemis. I'm named after hemorrhoids for some reason, and I'm eating food currently. I don't really play the game anymore that much, but when I do, you can rest assured that I'm going to host some cool events, because some previous events I've hosted include the high risk raid series. High risk TOB, high risk TOA, high risk chambers. Done some prop hunt TOA because it was funny. I just like hosting big events in general, and giving people a reason to watch Twitch outside of just reclining. I want to create a spectacle that you would feel is almost like watching a pay-per-view event. So if I've been able to do that for anybody over the past 2 years, I think I've been streaming, then I think I've done my job well. Yeah.
Okay. My name is Stoyoner. Most people know me as a video rates janitor and also as a Bliff staff. You often see me doing raids with Sid on stream, or you will see me dying at TOB or chambers myself.
A little bit of trolling. And I guess I'll introduce myself. My name is Mr. Sido, or HiImSido. People call me Hilm. It's not Hilm, alright? It's a fucking I. Let's get that shit squared up. It's either Heem or Hilm. I capitalize that shit, and people still get it wrong. Because fuck you, Twitch, and stupid ass font. But anyway, that was a bit of a tangent there. But I like to do a little bit of everything. I'm mostly a Cox one trick, mainly in CMs, because I just really enjoy doing CMs a lot. But I like to, from time to time, do something different. I like helping out the homies with the CAs. And lately, I've been doing this Grandmaster from Scratch challenge because I wanted to give myself an excuse to try out content I didn't really get to touch because max player, why would I do Guardians of the Rift? I don't really pet hunt, etc., etc. So, yeah, that's who I am. And with that said, is everybody ready to get into some topics?
Mm-hmm. I'm ready.
Sure.
Alright. So, the first one we're going to be talking about is the big reveal on the summit, which was Varlamore. So we can start from the top, talk about the Colosseum, which is Blue Inferno, but different. It's basically Blue Inferno, just, change it up a little bit. So what's your guys' thoughts on the Colosseum?
Gonna lie, I've heard so many people hyping it up. It was, I think, it's the same. It's essentially the same as the Tascal trials that they pitched like 2 years ago, and
Yeah.
I thought it was super interesting that because everybody that I knew at least thought that it was just scrapped. Like people thought, oh my god, it's going to take too much time. Like the dev team just got rid of it completely. Because I think it was supposed to be pitched this year actually, and then we got to January and just radio silence. So like as far as I was concerned, that was in the graveyard. I was like, oh, that doesn't even exist anymore. But I think it's very cool that they've come back with it and pitched it with I think Varlamore originally started on Reddit, right? Someone like, there's some big Reddit post, some random
Gentle
user.
Tractor, I believe.
Yeah,
The
like
Matman himself.
yeah, the fact that he actually came up with all of that and like planned out the layouts and stuff, and they actually took that and implemented it into a real planned out thing. I thought that was really cool, but in terms of the specifics, I haven't kept up too much with what's actually going to be in there yet. So I just think it's cool that they managed to integrate it with the community.
I think regarding specifics, I would assume that they're going to take some of the core things that they previewed, back then in the I forgot what it's called, but the game jam, during game jam. So the whole idea is kind of randomized encounters. There's like kind of modifiers or mutations, however you want to put it. So every time you do a run, you'll have buffs for yourself that you can pick from. But I think there's also buffs that you have to pick for whatever you're facing off against as well.
Yeah.
From what I saw. So because of this, it kind of gives you like think of it like invocations in a way, but invocations that affect yourself and invocations that affect other things, and it's random what you'd pick from. So if anyone's ever played like a roguelike game like Binding of Isaac or Nuclear Throne or any of those games that's kind of like randomized with every single run that you do, it's going to be like that.
I think that's super hype, actually. I don't think we've ever had... I mean, I guess we've kind of had roguelike, but I feel like we haven't had a roguelike experience in RuneScape so far. That's been... I mean, I can't really speak to RS3, but nothing really feels... I don't know. I don't think anyone gets the same feeling as like Binding of Isaac in old school RuneScape, and the fact that they're integrating like... I think one of my biggest concerns with Jagex over the past couple years, maybe not so much now, especially with DT2, is I thought they were lacking creativity. And I thought they weren't always trying to come up with new approaches, putting genuine thought behind mechanics and stuff. And I mean, with DT2, I think they've taken the first step in the right direction with stuff like, Shadow Realm, for example. Like the captcha, as much as it gets memed during Vardorvis, I think that like, okay, well, at least we're branching into different directions with how we can make the game a little bit more engaging. And I think honestly making a roguelike, I mean, I think that's cool. I hadn't looked into it that much. Some of what you said sounded familiar, but I think this is definitely going to be the first sort of real experience like that in old school.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping they take the chance to mess with the loot system, because I feel like that's the thing they haven't. I'm always advocating for like Telos with his kill streak mechanic, but
I think it's a good mechanic, the enrage system.
Mm-hmm. They've said that they would show you the loot for each wave, but I don't think they've ever suggested that you would get like more for leaving it or anything like that. So I'm hoping they do something like scaling difficulty, or like allow you to leave the loot in there and risk it for the next attempt if you're good enough. It might be hard to make it feel good enough if it's random, like the negatives. Be
Yeah.
really cool though if they messed with it.
'Cause I think at the moment it's just like you can. Is it like you can leave at any point and
Yeah,
take
I
what
think
you
they
have?
show you the loot from the wave, and then you like have the choice of taking it and leaving or going on. I think that's the thing they said.
Yeah. Do you lose your loot if you decide to keep going? I can't remember.
I think if you die, you don't get that loot.
Okay. Yeah.
Shit's gone, bro. It's gone.
GG.
Yeah, like a little reward that you get a gauntlet when you die. Like fucking hot or something.
I'd love if you could risk like multiple Colosseum runs in a row. That would be really, really cool.
Dude, imagine someone did like a loot from 100 Colosseums in a row. That would be kind of cool.
Oh man.
Content.
High risk, high reward, baby. That I mean, like it's so simple and it's been done a lot, but it's really a concept that just like never gets old. I think it's always pretty engaging when they implement stuff like that. And then yeah.
Just something to encourage mastery would be really nice.
I could see something like so like let's say for first KC you get your normal loot, and then there'd probably be like a cap at some point, so maybe like after 5 kills or 6 kills or something, then you meet that cap, but every kill after that would have that same kind of buff to it, and it would just keep adding the 6-time buff over and over. Well, not 6-time buff as in like you get 6-time drops, but there's probably like some sort of bonus that's applied at the 6 KC.
That's the same way Telos works, I think. He caps at like 60 kills in a row or something.
Because if it didn't cap, it would be kind of gross.
Yeah, it would be vile.
It'd be very gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really into it. All I know is that it kind of reminded me of the main tower in RuneScape 2 with the handicap system. If anybody ever played that.
Kinda. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
What's
but you
that
want to know
one?
what I can actually use as a metaphor for you, Toy?
Go on.
You know when we played Vermintide,
Yeah.
the chaos things. What do you call it? I don't know exactly
Chaos
what I'm
waste?
talking about. Yeah, those the chaos waste. It's like that with the stuff that you can get from like, bosses and stuff. It's literally like that.
Yeah, and the main tower was quest bosses only as well. So it's like more like Ember Zone.
Yeah.
The handicap system, I'm pretty sure, is like similar-ish.
Yeah, it'd be like you can't drink potions anymore. It was kind of like Toa Invocations.
Yeah.
I remember doing Dominion Tower and thinking like it was going to be super cool, and then I remembered just like half of, because like they gave you like what, a new bow, like a bunch of swords that look super cool, look like primal 2Hs. I was like, oh my god, like this is so cool, because I was like some level 110 that just started, and then I found out it's like, yeah, like you don't use half of that, and
Only the gloves.
yeah, I was just like, okay, well, I mean, I think it was a lot of lost potential, let's say, and I think they've had that trend a lot recently, but you know we're moving out of it, and I think that's good.
I mean, Desert Treasure 2 is promising in my opinion, so happy to see what's coming.
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, after seeing them do like Awaken Leviathan and like the whole one-tick attack speed, I have more confidence in my JMods that can kind of like make stuff actually difficult and aren't afraid to kind of like do something that seems too hard. So I'm
Well,
hopeful.
there's loads. There's loads you can do. I've seen people say like they need to like add like prayers or EOC or something to add
Yeah,
complexity,
well,
but there's definitely more you can do for sure.
We'll definitely talk more about the Desert Treasure 2 in the next bit. I'll just stay on top. I don't want to be that guy, but like, oh, don't say that. But that whole section just for Desert Treasure 2. So save the meat and potatoes for that. Mr. Noob Type, what are your thoughts on Blue Inferno?
I don't have a really good opinion on it, but like, it's really cool that they're, what do you call it? How would I say it? It's really cool they're tapping into something like new.
Yeah.
So
regarding like all these random modifiers and stuff, there is one concern. Now, I'm saying this now. I'm not saying this is how Jagex should develop the game, because I think if you ever intend to cater to one audience, then it kind of limits you to how to develop something, which is bad. But it's just like for the people that eventually want to try to speedrun the content, people are going to be trying to reset to get like that first really good modifier for themselves that they determine gives them the best boosts and stuff.
Yeah.
That's just how it's always going to be. So I hope that isn't really much of an issue, because I don't mind if it's like completely random. I think that's fun. And I think most of the mastery of the content is going to be you get what you get, and learning how to combine all these cool little modifiers together and playing around them is where the real fun is, versus just resetting over and over again until you get like a good modifier, which I could see people doing, whether for first clear or doing for like, again, speedruns. But yeah,
surely we just get the chambers treatment, and 7 years later they pull a change to get rid of scouting. Surely.
Still hasn't happened yet. Oh
man.
Don't worry, I'm saving my spiel for that. I got a paper and everything. I actually don't.
Whoa.
Oh,
I don't actually have a paper, but I do have some thoughts about that.
It's got a sticky note.
They gotta make sure like that there's not like a few really bad random negatives. That's usually how it is with these kind of systems. Like there's the one that like makes so you can't drink potions. You're like, oh, I just leave if I get that. They gotta make sure they don't have any that like stick out that are like make it unplayable.
I mean, I think we all know there's gonna be the one where it's like, okay, so the bosses now have double HP because, you know,
yeah, something like that.
Always like adding stats to shit.
Yeah.
You now lose 1 day of membership for every hit you take.
Some interesting ones that I can kind of think about is like maybe they could do one where it's like if you're next to an NPC for too long, then you have like the keep back effect type shit, and then or maybe attacking the same NPC over and over again. If there's like multiple NPCs and you attack the same one, then maybe it like reflects damage. It kind
imagine like the rampage. You have to like switch. Yeah, always attack with a different attack style to do, or else you do 0 damage if you do the same style twice in a row.
There are so many different things they can do. Like this is the excellent opportunity for them to just do some very crazy and stupid shit. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You know, they can just go back to the drawing board or just change it. Like this is, I think they could just go crazy with it.
I hope they do. Yeah.
I really hope they do. But like if I feel if something bad comes out of it, then like I said, they could just change it. I think the community will cry if it's bad, and they'll eventually be like, okay, we'll make the change. Don't hurt us. But yeah. Regarding that, how about we talk about the rewards? What kind of rewards do you guys want to see from this?
Honestly, I've seen people talking about the about getting a new mage cape. And I mean, I don't really know how I feel about the whole cape thing. I feel like I mean, obviously there was the RS3 version where like you could get the Tokar cowl, but like range and mage version. And I think I don't think there's anything wrong with sort of sticking to a predetermined route, but I guess I'd just like to see a little bit more creativity from them, especially since it's like now we're not even talking, it's not even like the Tascal trials anymore, right? It's not even related to them. So I don't know. I think one of the things I've mentioned before is that I really like it when they can find an upgrade that's not necessarily just like gear. So like I remember talking about Gauntlet, and I thought Gauntlet was a great upgrade in that it gave you divine potions. I thought that one was fairly ingenious. I was like, yeah, like, you know, that's very helpful to a lot of people. And it's not, I mean, granted, it's not the biggest boost, but I mean, not having to constantly repot every minute, I thought, yeah, you know, like little buffs like that, I think are really nice, and I think I'd be really cool if we could see something like that from here too, because it's not just like I got this drop, I never have to do it again, right? It's like, oh well, like I doesn't matter how many I get, they'll always be useful. So I don't know. I just, to me, it feels like an update. It feels like some sort of reward that is a little bit outside the box, and I think that's just what I appreciate a lot more these days.
What are you thinking in regards to something like kind of small, but would be very beneficial to farm for though, because we already have the vines.
Yeah, I mean that's the hard part, right? That's why they're fairly hard to come up with. we have divines. Yeah, no. I mean, there's a lot of ways they could do it. I mean, I'd imagine this is why I'm not the dev, right? But to have some things like I don't know, like maybe I don't want them to have something that's like recoil, but
All right, it's
there's a
time.
lot of effects.
They bring in
Maybe something-
overloads. It's time.
It's
I mean-
maybe
Time for a change, boys.
we're gonna need a lot more. That would be a fucking change though, because that would just cause the ripples in like every piece of content unless it was locked to a specific area. So
They've been kind of slowly introducing it. We got like the stat renewal potions and the divines. I think we kind of want to slowly work our way up to it. So maybe we'll see like another step towards it. Maybe like a potion that does all your stats, but it's just a divine and not like a
like
renewing.
the totality.
Is that what it does? Sure.
oh yeah,
Yeah, because totality from top was pulled and it didn't pass. But I think we're at a stage where if people pulled something like that, it would probably pass. I don't remember the percentage. I think it might have been 70. But yeah, I could see a lot of those potions they pulled and just a lot of things that they pulled in the past passing again because of the 70% threshold. Jedi also mentioned, how do you guys feel about flasks, which are the vials that let you have 6 those potions?
I was gonna mention it as like a possible reward or upgrade, but it's also like might be OP though.
It'd be very strong at pieces of content that you're very limited on inventory, like Inferno. Like, very strong in Inferno.
Would they work for like all potions, or just like maybe like a specific flask potion, maybe, or can you like make any potion to a flask? I guess.
So you could potentially limit it, but as I remember in RS2, you could use it for every type of potion. So you had like brew flasks, restore flasks, etc., etc.
RS3 has these crystal flasks now too, which lets you mix 2 potions together. They could do something like that as well and make it not 6 doses. That would be kind of interesting.
That would actually be a good step. Is like instead of going straight into the overload, something that lets you start combining potions. So like a super.
Yeah, you could have like 2 divines in a slot. That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be nice.
You could use that for Inferno 100%, like using the super combat range potion in one. So that, I think that would be a great start, because jumping right into overloads is a little strong. So I think that next step would actually be kind of nice. But then again, here I am, like, I would completely be fine with seeing power creep, because I love power creep. So if they jump right into overload, it's good with me, but I think baby steps are more important.
If they do that, bye, Bruce. He'll be brewing everywhere.
So regarding the Mage Cape, I don't know if it would fit thematically now, because of the fact they're kind of moving away from Blue Inferno. So it made, I don't know, maybe they could make it fit, but I think that was something that they had suggested in the past, where it's like, you get this item, once you clear out this set of waves, you get the first upgrade. The next set, get the second upgrade. And then the final wave, you get the third and final upgrade, which is the most potent of all of them. So it's kind of like that type of, you work your way toward getting the best version of that item, which I don't know if there's really anything like that in RuneScape right now. I think that would be kind of nice to, like kind of, as you grow as a player with stats and knowledge, then you can go for the best of the best. But in the meantime, you can get like these lower tier ones. I thought the idea was cool. It's just I'm not sure if they could thematically fit it in now, but you never know.
I guess when I think about Colosseum, I guess I think more of like fighting, not so much magic, as far as a magic cape.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a lore-wise iffy thing about it.
No, I do think the theme is generally pretty important. I mean most people don't give a shit about the lore, so, but I don't know. I like to believe that they could find some sort of way to weave it in. I don't think it'd be that hard for them, but it's also just off-putting if they like. I don't know. There's some times where it's like it just doesn't make sense, and even though most people don't pay attention to the lore, it's still kind of like it's just weird, So I do hope they find some sort of way to line it up with the theme, because like Kirby said, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It's like, hey, you get the new best in slot magic reward from a fight arena, Colosseum. Like, how does that make any sense, right? The Majorina 2 cape, you went around fucking wilderness and killed these ancient mage gods or whatever, like ancient magic demons. And then you're telling me like a mage cape you got from fighting in a Colosseum is better? It's just a weird thing, you know?
It doesn't feel appropriate.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I used to fucking read RuneScape lore when I was like 9, so
I still do sometimes. Like when I'm skilling, I'll just like open like a piece of lore on the side.
Did you read the text when you were doing Desert Treasure 2?
Yes.
I skipped through it because I was like, I just want to get this quest done now. But after the quest was done, like I think like a week later when they had the stuff on the wiki, that's when I was reading through it.
I skimmed
when
it.
I was like, God damn it, fucking fuzz that redeemed someone threw me off. But that's when I took my time to read through the lore. The lore's good. Mod did a good job. So there was one reward I did want to talk about. I don't remember if this is just like I made this up in my head or something. I swear I read this or heard this somewhere, but I felt like I heard them talk about a possible reward being a way to combine rings, and I spoke with Noob Type about it. What would your guys' thoughts be about a combo ring type item from the Colosseum?
What would we combine? Like the light bearer, or like just like the different effects like archer and mage?
So, see, I don't know how, like, I don't think they really spoke too much about it, just aside from combo ring, but like I said, I don't know if it's just like a fever dream type shit. It could be fever dream. But I was speaking with Noob, and I was like, so would it just be the best of the rings combined? Because I think if you combine an Altor for Berserker ring, I don't think that's okay. I think that'd be kind of gross. So I'm thinking like the best stats from those rings combined together, or you could do something like maybe like a half and half. I don't know. So that's why I'm bringing it up to see what are your guys' thoughts? How would you balance that type shit?
Maybe if you could do it, but like you can't combine rings that offer similar bonuses. So like you can do like a altar with like a magus, but not an altar with the Bellator, because you have like insane melee stats at once. So it's more to save inventory space, I guess, and then be not too overpowered. I think.
I would like to see a Bellator for stab and crush. That would be interesting.
Oh boy.
Like combine the Bellator with like the treasonous ring and the other thingy. I forgot.
Yeah, I mean it's honestly crazy how fucking outdated those are. Like
They're so.
I remember even in 2020, like sometimes you would take the fucking tyrannical ring to top speedrun for Soda's egg. And even then that was like kind of pushing it. And then it's like I don't remember what happened, but like 6 months later, just nobody took it anymore. And then ever since then, I've not seen a single person use that ring. It's like those things are dead. So it would be nice to see them, try and revive some dead content, because there's a lot of pieces in the game that are just like, what the fuck is this here for?
I always try to do it for like a Wildy expansion or something, because those rings are Wildy themed, but you never know.
They could also, in theory, I've kind of thought of this before, but like if you have like a second ring slot, but you can't have overlapping effects.
Oh yeah, so like 2 light bears in one hand.
Yeah.
That would be kind of gross.
Because that'd be an easy way to like you can combine rings by actually making new items. It's just like you just can't have 2 rings equipped at the same time if they have overlapping stats.
Yeah, I mean it's like in some pieces of content, right? You kind of know what rings is gonna be good. Like at Tob, it's the ones that give you the stats. In TOA and TMs, the light bearer is very strong, and I say very. At least in solos, you can kind of use like an Altor or a Magus, but like in teams, it's just light bearer. Light bearer just is fucking ruling the world as the ring to rule them all in team speed content outside of Tob. So I'm not sure if that's ever gonna change. I just feel like having Mongo spec in content that's just like, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like, you go in and you're in there for a very long time. It just getting those extra specs for shit like ZCV, your Void Wakers is just, it's very strong. It's very, very strong. Especially if you're swapping styles a lot too.
TCB's crazy. Void Waker too.
Yeah, both
Getting
of those
extras
are
is usually pretty good.
good. Yeah. They're so good. I do feel like the Void Waker feels, I don't want to say niche, but at the same time, it's like, it feels fitting as a spec weapon. I don't feel like it overpowers anything. It's like, we have a good amount of spec weapons right now that feel like they all have a purpose.
Yeah.
I wonder if I wanted to say one more thing. I wonder if it would be OP if you could combine a light bear with one of the other rings and have like half the effects of both rings. So instead of double the region spec, you would have like half of that, and then instead of 12% strength, you would have 6% strength bonus on altar. Would that be OP? So if you could combine light bear with altar, for example, and like half both effects or stats, would that be OP?
I don't think it would be. I guess a question of like, is there a place you'd want to have half of each
It would
instead of
depend
a
on
full
max hit
effective one?
thresholds, probably. A lot of the time.
Yeah.
It tells me like you could maybe make it work at TM5s with like half bonuses, but it's very hard to say.
You have 6 strength, you can still get 48 max hit in tier B for like maiden and stone and shit. So I don't know.
There's a lot of times where you like can't benefit fully from a light bear too. Like you don't, like in certain like raid rooms, you don't fully get another spec. So having half of one might be good enough in some cases. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. They could also just beta it. So like they could beta having it for full, and then people are like, oh, this is too strong, and they can just beta having it for like half. So if like something is too strong, or they think it's gonna be too strong, well, they can always just beta it weak, and if people are like it's just too weak or it's not that useful, they can always buff it or do the other way. Because that's what the beta worlds are for. It's like they give us something to fuck around with it, and then we realize it's either very fucking good or it's very fucking shit. You know? Assuming that they, beta it properly and you have all the items you need to test it. Yellow Curious.
I mean, like the entire problem with the ring metas is that light bear is like really strong, but also ring swapping is really annoying because it resets your spec. So yeah.
That's why I'm thinking that, combo rings might be something cool to investigate, but who knows? Alright. So, one last thing. We're going to talk a little bit about the lore, but for one specific reason, okay? So, with Varlamore, it is going to be an expansion on the whole Xeric storyline. I do remember them mentioning that they didn't want to bin the whole you need to have a Book of the Dead with you thing unless it was from like a quest, specifically Xeric storyline. So this could be an opportunity to finally get rid of the need for a Book of the Dead. How do you all feel about that?
Please remove the book. Please.
Same. Please.
Yeah,
That's the same thing.
I feel like the book was kind of shoehorned into the game as some arbitrary, like it was just something that they thought, okay, well, we can't just have you sit on the spell book, like it's just too strong. So they just thought of the most random way to like try and give you some sort of handicap. Yeah, it's like what the hell? Like you're just gonna make me lose one inventory slot, and like to some degree, I kind of understand that. But the thing is, like, it comes with so many other issues, not issues, but more like quality of life circumstances that it just makes it more annoying, right? Because the amount of times you're going to forget your book and have to bank, the amount of times or like. I don't know. It's just annoying, and like that. I don't think anyone enjoys it. So.
I think you make some very valid points because I always forget my book. Also, Curry, why the fuck are you doing this to me right now, man?
What do you mean?
Why are you doing this? You guys always do something like this every time, bro. First it was toy with the mole, and now this, dude. It always happens.
It's my natural form. Took my makeup off.
Dude, and I fucking look like a lizardman shaman under my skin, bro. All right. Okay, let's I think we can wrap that up. Let's move on to the next topic. So this one's, hot and fresh. I think this one we can kind of poke at Noob Type to make him talk. All right, he's been very quiet, scheming in his little chair, bro, with his fucking army of Fumos and Gunplas parts all over his desk. But let's talk about Desert Treasure 2. All right, so first things first. What's everyone's general thoughts on, the content, the bosses and the quests?
Amazing. I really love it.
Yeah, I thought
The only-
it was,
The only
I thought it showed the creativity.
Yeah, I should have loved creativity. The only downside for me on release was that the rings were like really rare or like triple the drop rate bullshit, right? So nobody got them. That's the only thing that like damped the hype a little bit. But the rest of it was amazing.
They pitched it where it's like they have it designed, that invisible 3 ring system thing, because it kind of prevents dryness. That is the most bullshit thing I've ever heard, bro, because I swear to God, there are so many people that are dry still, and the counterpart of, the fact that it prevents dryness is now you feel forced to camp a boss when you have a bunch of KC, because you don't know if you're 2 and 3 or not. So until you see that ring drop, you're like in the copium machine.
So let's just talk about that drop mechanic for a little bit, and we can probably talk about the rest of the quest later, because I've actually heard some interesting things about that drop thing, because I know some people like it, but I've heard a lot of reasons that, like, I mean, not like reasons, but more so like just little ifs with it, because like I found that a lot of people kind of enjoyed doing PvM just like here and there to be like, oh, like, maybe I solo one corp and I get an Elysian, right?
Yeah.
You can like, you have that sense of excitement, that what if, that exhilarating sense of like, oh, well, like I could just get lucky. I mean, you can still just get lucky here, right? I think we've all seen like some Twitter post of some guy getting like a Bellator Visage in like 30 KC or something stupid, but
it was something low.
Yeah, but in our heads, I feel like when you're camping these new bosses, even if it's still possible, the perceived probability is dramatically lower. Like, I don't even consider it a thing. So it's like, whereas maybe like in 2017, I might have been like, hey, I'm going to solo corp because like maybe I'll get an arcane. Like, sure, it's fucking like 1 in 500, but like maybe you get lucky. Here, I think it kills some of the enjoyment and hype just knowing that like, okay, like I'm gonna grind this, but I know for a fact like I'm not gonna get anything unless I at least sink like 10 hours in. And then there's also, the whole bludgeon thing that you said earlier, where it's like, okay, I'm locked here. So I mean, there's downsides. I don't know if there's buffs to it either. I don't know how you guys think about the drop system for that.
I feel like
it's. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Okay, I was gonna say I feel like it'd be better if we could know when we get like an invisible drop, like drop us like some random item like monkey nuts, not just anything, just so we know, and then it's like you get back.
Choose monkey nuts, man.
Well, something unique. Gotta be unique. And then you got something. You don't go like 300 KC with nothing. You're like, oh no, I had 2 invisible ring drops this whole time. I'm not just going dry. So I feel like it would help a lot when you can actually see you're not just going 300 KC dry. You actually have 2 drops.
The other issue that I have with it is the fact that you have that bludgeon system with the axe, where you need all 4 pieces to combine the axe. So you have these 2 conflicting problems. Okay, so it's like, all right, so you got this ring that you need to get 3 drops or invisible drops to get. But what if you get, like, a piece of the axe early on? Now it's like, oh boy, I have to still camp this boss because, 2 and 3, you never know. And then guess what happens as you're grinding? You're like 5,000 KC in or something. You have, like, a bunch of dupe axe pieces that you can't really do anything with because they're untradeable and you need a full axe. So if not for that, I'd probably be a little bit more lenient, but it just feels like you have a WWE match between an item that kind of encourages you to go to other bosses, but an item that also encourages you to camp the boss. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I feel like Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say I'm not going crazy here, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like the axe is a big issue because so many people are gonna finish their grind and have like I don't know, like 3 axe pieces of Whisperer or something, but then like like none of the other ones because they finished the axe and it's like, well, what am I gonna do with these other axe pieces? It's kind of like it would take forever to complete 2 new axes. So having like I don't know, giving like some sort of purpose to dupes, maybe you could trade it in for like a chance at like a random unique reroll or something. Something to make it not useless. Would be nice.
Actually be kind of decent. It's like having a way to get rid of it somehow. Doesn't have to make it tradable, but some way to like maybe like kind of like the quartz. They added something for the quartz, so maybe you could do something like that. Have to be worth a decent bit for you to be like, you know what, I'm just gonna sacrifice this axe piece.
What can you trade the quartz for?
You can open a
It's like
chest. And
100k.
it's like a mini Larry's chest type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like loot from their drop table, just like basic loot.
Okay, I mean, not great, but not terrible. At least you get something out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cosby, maybe Anna. Oh, you go first.
So, what if you could trade in extra X pieces for like a ring roll at a specific boss or at that specific boss? So if you're 2 and 3, you get the ring, I guess. I don't know.
The rarity on the axe pieces.
Let me check.
They're as rare as the ring, I think.
Should be pretty similar.
Yeah,
All 3 rolls
it's
is
the
equal
same.
to an axe piece. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's so
Yeah.
like all 3 rolls, as in like combine all 3 rolls, is the same rarity, or like just
Yeah,
one
you're
roll?
expected to get a full ring at the same time as like an axe piece on
Oh.
average, I think.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like they're just testing the waters with this drop system. I
Yeah.
don't think they'll ever do it again in the future.
I think people made it clear we weren't a big fan. I'm just like, I don't know if it's like kind of doomed for them to make changes now, because if they make changes now, what happens to people that are 2 and 3? Do they just lose their roles? Like, is that what happens? So that's the only thing I'm just thinking to myself, if they were to make changes, but I don't know if they have any plans to make changes. It's been so long now. They probably don't have any plans to change it.
I think the having invisible, untradeable like things that are pieces to an item is not like ideal, because like you're saying, it causes people to like not want to grind it or feel like they're forced to grind. It doesn't feel good. But it is interesting to have an item that like requires you stay at a boss a long time to get the drop. It has kept the prices high, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, most of the KC like across the game is going to be like sub 50 KC from people. Like they go and they try Verdorvis and they leave, and those people are not going to get a drop. Like that will not happen. Arster has a lot of things like this. Like a lot. It's like Godsword Hilt, where you have a bunch of shards that make a thing. It's interesting to have a thing that requires all of the pieces, so it like does require you to stay there a while. It does keep the price high. That is something they could try in the future. I don't think that keeping the invisible pieces of something is good though. They could work with it though.
I think the system is, in theory, it could be good, but only for a boss that is kind of like standalone, and not like when you have 4 bosses that have drops that kind of work with each other, namely the axe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as a standalone,
Just didn't
I
work
think
great
it's
in
good.
this case. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully in the future we could see it again standalone, but just slightly improved is all.
I like the concept, but the execution could have been better.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like, what if they, instead of made it triple roll, made it double roll? Or what if instead of like having to have to achieve the rolls, make it like twice? Like say the drop rate is 1 and 1k, right? What if they just make it that you can get 2 rolls that are 1 and 2k instead? And if you roll one of them, you get the ring. But you can still get the ring at any KC still. You know?
maybe.
I don't know. Just like spitballing.
They also had the Vanderbilt system as well, so it's kind of like a little bit of an eyebrow raise when they're like, "Wait, so why did they just not do that again?" 'Cause I thought the Vanderbilt was fine.
I think they didn't want to do that again because it's like when you get a Venator shard, it's like, oh, whatever, it's like 5 mil, it's like a shard.
Yeah.
Whereas like getting the actual drop is like the big dopamine rush. So
I mean, fair.
Araxor in RS3 has a system where the weapons require 3 hilt pieces to make a hilt, and then they also have a piece you attach to turn into. So there's like a mage like orb that you stick to that hilt. So then the hilt
the
pieces,
staff?
yeah, the hilt pieces are untradeable, but once you combine it into a leg, a full hilt, then you can sell that. So it has both systems. The hilts you can sell, and the pieces you attach to the hilts you can sell, and then a full hilt you can sell. So that like keeps the prices high. They could do something like that. Then it's not just like the one thing you want that you feel chained there.
Apparently, Telos has a similar system, is what someone
Telos
saying in chat.
does, yeah.
I think that'd be good. I think that'd be decent as well.
I don't think anybody's complaining about God Swords. I think those work quite well. I don't know.
Okay, so we can move away from the drop mechanics. We can quickly go talk about how we all felt about the quest real quick. Like, how do you guys enjoy the quest? Did you like it? Did you hate it?
I really liked it. If I was a step, I mean, I did skip a couple puzzles, but chat told me the answer to because it's day 1. I'm rushing it.
Oh, jeez,
Yep.
what the hell? This
But,
guy's crazy.
I mean, maybe I'm just too positive IQ. I just guessed the answer first try. Team needs to solve it.
What the
Easy.
Kind of
But-
sus dog, bro.
I thought it was really good. Actually dying to quest bosses again. Imagine.
Oh yeah. I died to Duke right off the bat. And I was like, what the fuck? I just
Nice.
gazed at me and I was like, oh, okay.
So yeah, I had a good time with it. I feel like it was like a step up in quality of quests.
Yeah, I
Really-
thought. Go
Oh,
on,
you
sorry.
Oh, I really liked it. The only thing I hated was the Stranglewood because I was just being a dumbass.
Dude, I hate those NPCs so much. Fuck those things. Those things
Yeah.
fucking suck. It actually felt horrific as hell. So, in a way, it was pretty good. I like the environment, the music, the boss design, just everything about it was really good. Just really good altogether. I think they knocked it out of the ballpark for a quest, but it also means that since they did such a good job of a Grandmaster quest, it also sets the bar for them if they were to make another Grandmaster quest. So expectations are kind of high now.
low key, I mean, maybe it's just recency bias, but I don't remember. Like, I swear, this is what our 3rd Grandmaster quest in the game. This one felt noticeably harder than some of the other ones on release.
Yeah.
I was like, this is like, I wouldn't even class the other 2 as Grandmaster quests. Like, I remember doing Dragon Slayer 2 on release, and well, I mean, there's fun shit like everybody getting stuck at the puzzle, and some people don't know how to quest on release, so they don't have a pickaxe. You see them all teleport to the bank. It's like, oh, these guys don't know what's going on. But it's yeah, like all the bosses and like all the other fights. It's like, okay, Song of the Elves was a bitch, but the bosses weren't very hard. Desert Dragon Slayer 2, like a bunch of people died to Galvek, but that's not because Galvek was hard. It's just because like people
Fireball.
didn't. Wait, sorry, what?
The fireball.
Yeah. It was like that wasn't because it was difficult. I would say it was just because people didn't really know where to stand. Then they got hit for like 100.
You don't know where
This
the
was
mines are gonna
a-
land. They blow you up. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the mines. Oh, dude.
The amount of time I remember doing it and hearing people was like, I've died to Galvek 6 times. I was like, how? What did you just walk on the mines over and over again? Like they spawn in the same place. But I like this boss was actually like, oh, like you could go in there and like watching Wooks go in and fight Vard. Everybody was like, what the hell? Like he's taking like 18 brews and he's like running out of food. I was like, okay, like that's I mean, I'm not saying it was insanely like, oh my god, I died 16 times, but it was noticeably more difficult. And I thought that was cool. I don't think we need every Grandmaster quest to be that difficult, but I do think like if we're gonna separate them into tiers, Dragon Slayer 2 and Song of the Elves are like not on this level. So I thought that was pretty interesting, difficulty and quests. I was like,
I still think Gluff is probably one of the most bullshit bosses in the whole game because it's just there's not really much you could do about the fucking mechanics he hits you with. It's just so dumb.
I didn't even. Was that a Grandmaster quest?
It was a Grandmaster quest,
Mhm.
yes.
That's a joke. That was not a Grandmaster quest. Like compared to this one, there's levels to this. You know what I mean? So that was I don't know. I definitely liked it though. Outside of the fact that I went to Whisperer first, the literal first boss that me and my Discord went to, we had like 9 guys in the call. We all just like, like let's go Whisperer. We were stuck there for 5 hours. And we're
Oh
watching
my god.
we're watching like a Bodhi do. Oh yeah, because we followed Bodhi into it, and then Bodhi got like 30 minutes in, and he dipped. He was like, "I'm good, bro." And I was like, "Oh shit, well, I'm not leaving." But we're watching Wooks like clear Vard, like 2 hours in, and we're like, "Dude, are we seriously stuck? Like, are we idiots?" We start asking in clan, and it's like, no. Like other people are also idiots and stuck here for 4 hours. I was like, okay. Immortal in chat helping us out. Yeah, he's the goat. Got us out of here.
Shout out Immortal.
Shut up, bro. Like without him, my dumbass would have been there for like 8 hours, bro.
Yeah.
It was good fun. I like the boss for sure.
I love how they brought back the mysterious stranger, I believe it's called. Like the woman or the man that's chasing you around the world.
Yes.
Dude.
Good twist.
Bro, that shit was amazing. Seeing people die at the G to that shit was so funny.
Bro, people would run. It was so funny to me that like people would run when you're depositing the gems. They would go open the door. It would attack them, and they're like, "Oh god, I don't have any food." I watched people like literally die there, and all I did was like I just clicked the door again, and I went in. I was like, "He doesn't follow you in. What are you idiots doing?" These kids are just dying to it. I was like, okay. Like,
that
was
actually the most memorable thing was that whole, just the fact that I'm just doing my shit, a sandwich lady appears behind me. Now someone in my chat already said, oh, so if you try to interact with it, it'll attack you. I was like, oh, okay, so I'll just dismiss it. Yeah, that doesn't work either. It's like, you can try to dismiss me, bitch? Nah, dude, you're fucking dead. But I'm right next to the fucking like altar, like in Narda. So I'm just like, oh, so I could just go to my bank, get my shit, and I would just Dragon Claw and just blowpipe Dragon Claw over and over again. It was so dumb, but it was so fucking funny. That was actually such a good touch, and the fact that it could chase in your POH as well.
That teleblocker shit. What we're doing.
You beat in your own home. Like, that's a crazy... Yeah. I never thought I'd see that. That was cool.
Yeah, it's so fucking good. I have to give fucking big props to Jagex for that. I don't know how much coding work that must have been, but they did a good job with that fucking NPC. Okay. So let's start talking about the bosses a bit, especially the Awakened variants. What's your guys' thoughts on those?
I'd like to cite Port Khazard's video where he completes all four Awakened bosses in one inventory, and his description literally says, "This was a better raid than TOA, lol." You can go and you can watch, you can look up this video right now, Port Khazard OSRS, and you will see some of the best gaming and the best theory crafting coming down to the inventories. And then, yeah, like the opinion of a man like that literally comes down to this quest, right? This quest that we've been working on maybe a year. I think they've been working on it for a year. It's like, that was better than the raid that we waited 5 years for. It had less bugs. It was more fun, more enjoyable, had a better storyline. I think this, and I mean, like, I think I've already, like, shitting on TOA is kind of like beating a dead horse, but like that's not just to shit on TOA. I'm also saying that this quest was very good. So the bosses were nice and the quest was good. I'm a little bit more bored of the non-awakened versions, but I'm sure it's just something for everyone, right? And that's why, because I thought the awakened versions were great. I really enjoyed Awakened Vard. I thought that was a lot of fun. So overall, like, really good bosses. They were creative. They made it engaging. So
the only thing that sucks is, like you said, there's not really too much incentive to really do the awakened versions afterwards, especially the fact that you don't make your money back when you get the kill. You're literally just losing money buying orbs. So unless you have like fucking Ticket Timmy money, noob type,
Noob type,
there's no reason for you to be sending those bosses over and over again.
Yeah, it's such a shame. Awaken Leviathan is like best edition of the game in years, and you
Yeah.
can't even keep doing it. Even if you want to speedrun it, like you really can't.
It's not
weird.
sustainable.
I thought at the bare minimum, they would have made like some case, like, okay, 5. I know most people say like once you get Blood Torva, you should be able to do it for free. I was like, well, even if they don't do that, because maybe they don't want you to like fluke it, or maybe they don't want to hit Timmy's, but like at least like 5, right? Because I thought they'd come up with
Do whatever
something.
you want.
for it,
You
but-
can make it 100 orbs. Just give us something. To keep
Yeah.
doing it. I don't know.
Yeah,
What
but I
they
mean,
could-
we're a month in and they haven't done anything, so I'm not too sure about whether or not it's even in the plans for them.
Probably
But-
not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one
It's a
thing they
shame.
could kind of do is just increase, like the normal drops, maybe like for awakened versions, increase those so those have like a lot of value to them. So when
Yeah.
you use an orb, it's like you feel like it's worth doing it.
Yeah,
But-
instead of losing 2 mil every kill, it's like
Yeah. So like that way you at least break even, or you make a little bit more than the orb. So that way the GP per hour is still kind of roughly the same to the normal version. Maybe like a little bit better. It's just that there is not a lot of outside of people that are just doing this for challenge, right? There's not really too much incentive to keep doing it.
I only do because it's Leviathan and Varlamore are fun in replay value.
They're really good. Yeah.
agreed.
Mhm.
1000%.
Whisperer, that awakened variant is kind of a joke.
It's a
Grand.
slog.
It's easy and slow. Yeah.
It's a slog.
I think it was still asleep. I didn't fully wake up.
Whispering in my ear like a fucking ASMR video. Like what the fuck?
I mean, it's
HiImSido.
just another perfect
Stop.
task. It's just another perfect CA, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying remove all perfect CAs because I get what they're trying to do with them, but generally speaking, that is the least enjoyable way to make something challenging. And just like, hey, this is 9 minutes or 8 minutes, 10 minutes, however long it takes you to kill it. Don't make any mistakes. It's like being chronically stressed. It's not fun. It's not particularly challenging, and it's just drawn out to be longer. That being said, though, I don't
Engaging short fight is really
Yeah.
satisfying.
Yeah,
A
just
long,
way better.
not that difficult one where you just have to be consistent. I don't know. It's boring. Really
Mhm.
boring.
Yeah, what if for Awakened Vardorvis, they changed the capture puzzle to like it shows you 2 pictures, you have to find the 7 differences within the time limit.
Oh no.
Surely.
That concerns me greatly. I don't
Someone
think my brain could handle that.
Someone brought up a good point, though. What do you think the orbs would be at in like a year, say, if we keep going at this trajectory?
I'm
Good.
gonna
What are
say
they right now? Actually, let me look.
I think they're still like 2.4.
2.3 right now.
probably 1.5 mil, maybe. I
One
don't know. Maybe even lower.
I think
think it-
under a mil.
I think it depends if a combat achievements require Awakened KC or not. I think that'll
Oh,
make a
They
big.
won't, because they said they won't.
Oh, they said they won't?
They said they
Okay, I
won't?
missed
Oh,
that.
Interesting.
That's what I've heard a few times from people. They said that the JMods have said in like Twitch chats that no, they have no plans of it. I can kind of understand why, because of if I'm being honest, it's not as long of a grind as Inferno. Like getting your first Inferno cape, no, it's not a long grind. But I would argue that it is much harder to execute than Inferno, because once you've kind of learned all the stuff you need to do in Inferno, at least for like your first cape, it's relatively easy. There's a lot of room for error on the waves. People don't realize that, but there's a lot of room for error. You could pretty much survive all the time when you master it. But with this, the execution is very high depending on which boss you're going to, like Vardorvis and especially Leviathan.
I think Vardorvis and Leviathan are the only bosses in the game that require one-tick prayer switches and movement at the same time. I don't think anything else does. It's cool to see, like finally pushing things.
The only Whisperer has 1 tick flicks.
CG speedruns.
Yeah, Whisper does.
Yeah, but speedruns, I feel like speedruns don't really count because the
Yeah.
difficulty there is self-imposed. Like, I think
It's niche.
because this is like the base version. Like, base Awakened Vard, base Awakened Leviathan, it doesn't matter if you're speedrunning or not, you have to be able to prayer flick and move at the exact same time.
True.
And do it precisely. So yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you. Yeah, those are probably the only two that I can think of off the top of my head. At what threshold of price do you think you would probably start using Awakened Orbs to just like farm KC or like farm
shit.
drops?
Isn't the unique loot only buffed like a tiny bit? They said.
3x, right? Isn't it
Yeah.
3x?
Oh, is it 3x?
Three
It's
times.
not very
Mhm.
high.
Oh, it's 3
And
times.
the length of the kills is almost 3 times anyways. So
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, but you're getting a bonus in fun. It's a mental thing.
Yeah.
I'll take that. You're not gonna catch me grinding 700 fucking Vard. I did like
Yeah.
10, and then I sent the Awakened, and I've not gone back. I can't do 700 of those.
The thing is, there can be a lot of things in this game that are considered fun, but if there's no like real incentive to be doing it, then you're not gonna have a lot of people doing it. Like if there's no monetary incentive, no XP gain, or anything like that, then yeah, something's gonna be fun, but people aren't really gonna touch it after they've got what they've needed. That's the issue. Inferno speedruns is probably one of the more niche things. I know a lot of people. There's a good amount of people who do it, but a lot of people don't really get into it because there isn't really much reward out of it aside from Tokel, Slayer XP if you're not 99, a pet if you don't have the pet. But again, it's very niche, and it's also one of the hardest. No, it is the hardest piece of content in the game to get into. Inferno speedruns. So it's very important that if they want people to replay it, then they've got to add more to it. But I don't think that was their incentive to make it replayable at all, because I think they just wanted it to be like a one-off challenge, which I don't think that's bad to have a one-off challenge. But at the same time, it's like if you can make something replayable, why not do it? Gives people something to do in the meantime. It
seems like they didn't expect it to be like fun. Like they're like, oh, they like Leviathan. Oh,
They literally said before. They said we don't think it's gonna be fun. I'm pretty sure they said that before.
Straight up, yeah. On the Q&A, they've said things very similar to that. Yeah, they're like, I think Arcane said it wouldn't be fun to replay. It's like I don't think Awaken Leviathan is fun to do over and over. It's like wow, okay.
Well, he was wrong because it's fun. It's just there isn't really much to gain out of it aside from the.
It's not fun losing bills. I can say that.
Not fun losing money, unless you have nothing else to spend your 50 third age pickaxes on. I don't know who would have such immaculate amounts of money in this call right now. I'm not looking at anyone with a Gundam profile picture by chance.
What a crazy guy. 50 third age picks. What is he, BTCs in this economy?
PvM BTC's fucking noob type over here.
I'm broke.
But yeah, let's talk about some of the challenges a bit more. So we did have the Port Khazard video mentioned. I thought that was kind of really cool, and we had some people trying to push for some challenges too, like doing budget kills, thanks to Addy. And then, of course, we have speedrunning, which I think we should have a little bit of a moment to let a good friend Noob Type speak about that whole process, because not only did he speedrun all the bosses, but he also made a video on one of the hardest challenges in the game, which was No Stun Awaken Leviathan. So, would you like to lead us in real quick, Mr. Noob Type?
Sure. So what do you call it? The rollbreaker thing. Pretty sure anyone can beat my time, but the only downside is like the Awaken Orb, the cost of Awaken Orbs. You have to go through like mills or like possibly even bills just to even like get a good time.
Holy.
So like for the most part, it is not for like what do you call it? Not for people who still need GP and stuff.
The no stun run was wreck at the time, right? I didn't get a chance to look at that. It's
not the first one,
fast
right?
as fuck, so.
So the no stun one, I think Cancer still has the wreck. Even at the time when I started running attempts for no stun.
Damn. Damn.
Then
Crazy.
what do you call it? Shoot, I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
So we're talking about, what was it? We're talking about Awakened Leviathan and the cost behind it.
Oh,
And not something you want to speedrun.
but yeah, I think that's how I got at one point wreck for all of them because like no one's contesting for it really. I think the only one that contested was Leviathan. So as for the no stun challenge, so the idea wasn't for me, but it was originally from Gnome, I think. Gnome and Sax.
Yeah,
And the
we were throwing around it being like possible for a while. We were.
And
I think Sax was the first person who was like messing with Sound Swapper, like swapping out the sound cues and stuff.
I
trying to
heard
work.
that the A, B, and
A
F.
B F.
I would lose my mind.
Well, you naturally don't play
Then-
with sound, noob.
That's true. Yes, I don't like playing this.
Damn. What
Well,
the
this
hell?
game specifically, I don't like playing RuneScape sounds.
This guy did it. He wasn't even using fucking sounds. This guy's just an office
So-
already, dude.
Yeah, this.
So what do you call it? So it's actually practicing for Millstone was like a bitch at first, but with the plugin, it was a bit easier. But then when what do you call it? Afterwards, I wanted to try without the plugin to see how much harder it is. So I had to spend like another couple of days trying to build a muscle memory for for me to wreck every single pair.
On top of, did you have to
Then-
also figure out like the strategy of like where to place the boulders and where to stand
Um,
and stuff like that, or was that already figured
so-
out by Gnome and Sax?
Oh, yeah, so Gnome and Sax figured out the tiles, to, like where to stack the boulders and stuff.
Yeah.
Then the trapping, what do you call it? Originally, I was planning to trap it north, but when I saw Gnome and Sax trap it south, I was like, oh, okay, that's way better.
Yeah, we tried to think of everything. Tried to think of everywhere we could go with it.
Trapping is the tornado, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if you don't trap it, it's gonna chase you forever. Then wherever it hits you, it's going to respawn on that same location. So
We
That-
wanted to do north initially because you didn't necessarily have to tank it, because then it would have like space to move and you could trap without tanking it. But it was never gonna work. Like you couldn't get like the spacing required that you could
Yeah,
start
there's-
with jellyfish.
I think the craziest part about your video was the fact that you actually called it the Abyssal Pathfinder. I was like, I was watching his video
Orb.
and like like every
Jellyfish.
noob type video, I'm watching it and I'm like, holy shit, how's this guy so good at editing so quickly? And then like the text pops up on the screen and he's like, this is like the Abyssal Pathfinder spawns at 20%. I was like, what? What the fuck is that? Is like
Wait, room
my-
crafting?
yeah, I could only tell because like he loaded up the visuals and I was like, oh, like I didn't even realize what it was called. Like the jellyfish, the orb, the light bulb. Like
My command is still jelly tile for that orb
yeah,
for highlighting it.
he called it the Pathfinder. I thought I was walking in the park or something. Like I didn't know what the hell was going on.
At the time, I didn't even know what it was named, so I really looked it up.
Yeah, even he didn't know.
Teaching us
I was like,
shit,
oh.
dude.
So I was like, oh, it's called the Abyssal Pathfinder. So, and yeah, I didn't even know it had other names. Jellyfish. What else?
I didn't know it either. I just considered it just the safe spot. That's it. And I didn't think of any name to just consider it the safe spot that moves.
I mean, that was sick. I honestly, the fact that like it was a collaborative effort between all three of you is super sick, because like I wasn't like going into it. I mean, this might just be because I watched it through the video, right? But it's like it looked like the game plan. It looked like people were lining up in a fucking conference room planning shit out. I can imagine it was, because I mean, like this isn't. I think a lot of people misunderstand how much work goes into labbing stuff like this, because it's like it's everything is exponentially easier when someone else has already like done it, or like you've seen the strategy. Coming up with anything from the ground up, whether it's a YouTube video, whether it's a script, whether it's an edit, whether it's just tech like this to tackle a challenge, it's like going in from the ground up is like 10, 15 times harder, because like you have to walk in and you've got your two hands and like some food. Like, how are you going to tackle this challenge? It's like you have to run around, you have to figure out, oh, okay, well, if I drop a boulder on this specific tile, you're going to waste 4 orbs going to each of the goddamn tiles or whatever. It's just, there's a ton of different problems that you never get to realize until you're actually the one doing it. And I thought it was really cool that you guys could do this challenge. And
we all were sleeping at different times. I remember I would figure out a bunch of tiles and I'd hand it to Sax, and I'd go to sleep, he'd wake up, and
put it in group
we'd all
chat.
be passing it to Noob Type, literally. Yeah.
That's hype.
Yeah.
That's actually super hype.
And I'd wake up and Sax be like, "Oh, I figured this out and this out, and these tiles work really well." I'm like, "Okay, give me that, thank you."
Yeah.
Didn't he get very close to getting
Sax was
completion?
one shot off, and it was the shot he did the last one was not inside the orb. So
Oh,
if he did that last shot
what?
within the orb, he would have killed it, but didn't get it.
Damn.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate.
Is
It was
that the
super
clip?
close.
I know there's a clip where it's super low, and he looks like he has a stroke, because it just dies, and I was like, yo, that's fucked. Like,
Yeah.
respect though. I mean, like, because I think that was that the farthest that all, like, between all three of you up until Noob got it?
Noob Type was undercover. I don't know how far you get.
What do you call it?
Much closer than that.
I was still practicing when that happened.
Okay.
And I think
I
the
only got it
next
to
day, too.
like I had trapped the NATO like 2 or 3 times. I think I got it to like 42%. I think that was my best.
Trapping in NATO
Challenge.
is the hardest thing.
That's
about the
so
challenge.
hard. You have to like eyeball move at the same time as like clicking prayers and like know you've tanked it. That's so hard. Nothing comes close to that. Holy.
Because like after tanking, you cannot really risk a single hit. Otherwise, you're pretty much
A
like,
single hit kills you.
dead.
Yeah, it hits you
Yeah.
50, and a single orb hits you 52. So.
Oh, and not only that too, you also have to worry about like not moving too late. Because if you move too late, it's gonna respawn on top of you again, or
Yep.
it's gonna be like I think it might path out if you run a little too late.
I think it's stuck in
Say-
place for like 6 ticks or something. Like it just sits there.
Oh.
And if you don't move in that window, yeah. I think if you moved on like tick 5 and it like unfroze, I think it would untrap too.
So yeah. The entire fight, trying to do that in NATO is the hardest thing. Then
Yeah.
the second hardest thing is of course the reacting to the prayers and stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Then-
it looks impossible for me, that's for sure. I don't think I'll ever be able to do some shit like that. My hands are boomed.
I think when I watched the video, I attributed it to the 2023 version of Wooks, because I don't mean that in the sense that, like, oh my god, best PvM in the game, although obviously it definitely is one of the best PvMers in the game, but I mean it in the sense that, like, everybody remembers Wooks for just coming in, doing some, like, just going MIA for like 6 months, and then coming back with some video of like him doing some fucking crazy shit that nobody thought of. Like, I'm gonna go kill 6 Jads blindfolded. What the fuck? Like, where'd you come up with that idea? Right? And I feel like noob type is pretty much like he's been passed the torch, because like he'll come out and randomly be like, I did a 770 solo TOA. What the fuck? Okay, yo, like this is a crazy video. He'll disappear for 6 months, and then he'll come back. He's like, yo, I killed Leviathan with 0 stuns. Okay, yeah, sure, like it is literally. I feel like that's what it was like to watch Wooks back in the day. Like he just disappears, and then you see your friend sends you a video. I killed Jad in 7 seconds. Holy shit, right? So it's like I think it's really cool to see that. And normally, I like Wooks. I don't think I've ever really seen. I mean, I guess you could say Port Khazard. Port Khazard definitely is up there, but I feel like he doesn't upload as frequently. Because I know he's been uploading for like a couple years, but generally, like I don't really see him as a YouTuber. He just kind of does it every now and then. So
he's less active, I think. It takes a lot of breaks.
Yeah, for sure. And to see this is like, this. I don't know. To me, I feel like you're the next generation Wooks here. Just, I think that's fucking cool. It's like
He's Asian Wooks.
That's exactly.
Asian Wooks, let's go.
Dude.
Oh yeah, that's true. Shit. Alright, he's exact son. There we go.
Adopted son. But what do you call it? I'm not as smart as all 3 of them, so
You should give yourself more credit, because you do a lot of things to like figure things out, whether it's 770 or just a bunch of stuff for TLA. So you should give yourself a bit more credit and not just be like, oh, I'm not that smart. I mean, yeah, you're not gonna like pull up some fucking sim or some crazy shit like that, right? Because sometimes you gotta do a lot of coding to figure out some problems in this game, especially when you're trying to solve things at like a very tick by tick level. But like I said, you do some pretty incredible stuff. So you gotta give yourself more credit. Don't sell yourself short, okay?
Mostly meant the YouTube video thing anyway. You're inspiring a generation of people to do some weird, random, crazy shit. It's just cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I think one more thing I want to say regarding the awakened versions before we like move on to the next D2 stuff is it was nice to see that kind of pseudo Inferno race type thing again, because that's what I felt like day one. People were trying to race for the first completion, and that was really nice to see something like that again.
Would you say that this is the first instance of us having that since the Inferno? Because I know we've had a lot of new content since then, and
yeah, I would say 1000%. TOA did not feel like that at all.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, but since the Inferno was like, what about Top? Right, Top came after Inferno.
Oh right, Top 2. Okay, so it would be Top, because the Top race, the first KC, was also pretty hype. So it was like those two main things as the first race, and we hadn't had anything like that in years. So this was like probably the first time someone tried to hard race for like very difficult PvM completion.
I respect that. I think I mean, I don't know if they really underestimate it, but definitely from what I've seen, like a lot of people who say like, yo, like having hard content like doesn't matter, it's like I think they tend to underestimate how much marketing power stuff like that has.
It's strong. It's very strong.
Yeah, because when nobody, like, word spreads, and you like if you hear that like nobody could complete this challenge for like 2 whole days, it's like, I remember we started watching Wooks, and I was still in high school. The guy's got 44,000 viewers, and we're just watching him like in class, and it was like, what the hell, dude? Like, right when it becomes almost like a cultural phenomenon, and people who haven't played RuneScape in 10 plus years start hearing about it, and they're like, oh shit, like I have to see this. And that's just something that you only get with content that's so difficult just so difficult to complete. You
Yeah.
need a race, because otherwise, like, we didn't have that for TOA, right? Like, Wook's did TOA. He got, like, I don't know, I think he got his completion in like a couple days, and then he left because there was no race to be had, right? So I think a lot of people tend to underestimate how much marketing power really falls into having some difficult content. Not that we should hate on mid-level content either, but just put some hard ones out there every now and then.
I think how they implemented it was probably one of the best ways, because it's like the fact that it was aspirational, you didn't feel forced to do it because the fact that there was still the normal mode versions, and you were only doing it for Blorva. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I felt like they did it. I think they did it in a good way, and it was still something like people were still trying to race for it, because people didn't want to look like Tin Men anymore. They want to look fucking, they want to be rizzed up, bro, and pick up all the e-girls at the GE, even though there's a 95% chance it's a dude. But
oh, yo.
But you get my point. I thought they did a good job, and I'm hoping that they do more stuff like this in the future, because, like I said, they can still do these type of races without, destroying the opportunity for noobs to enjoy content, because I still think that's very important. Funnily enough, I think providing all these stepping stones for early game to mid game into late game is important, because look at RS3. I always go back to RS3, but it's like they're usually making content that it's for end game people, because it's pretty easy to, not easy, but much easier than I'd say old school, to work your way to end game. No Monkey, can you confirm or deny this statement that I just said?
Yeah. Majority of the player base is maxed. Definitely.
Yeah.
A focus on end game over this game. It's very different, for sure. They should definitely just take they have so many. R3 has so many bosses within Rage now. So many things that just scale in difficulty, like things like TOA. Like, they definitely should just lean into that. It's an easy way to make it so it is playable for everybody.
Yeah.
There's no reason they can't do that. Awakened bosses was really cool. That was a good idea too. Making a really difficult hard version. That works too.
Alright. So one last thing to touch on regarding Desert Treasure 2 is the rewards, how we feel about those, and then lastly, the shelving of the prayers. I guess we could start with the prayers first. How does everyone feel about the prayers being shelved?
I get why they did it, but it's a shame for sure.
Yeah, I feel like there were issues with the prayers, apart from the piety upgrade and the turmoil and everything.
Yeah, I think. Oh, you go first.
The vows had a lot of issues. I remember.
Yeah. One-shotting every boss in the game.
It's no one-hitting Chambers of Xeric. That was pretty pog.
Yeah.
I didn't see any issues with that. I thought that was very funny content.
Feature.
I mean, that's the point of the update, right? To be funny content. I think that's the point of the content.
Oh yeah.
I think when it came down to them scrapping the prayers, I didn't bother practicing with them enough to really tell if they were worth bringing into the game or not. But the main thing that I was happy with was the fact that they were willing to take that mentality and hold themselves to a higher standard. Because, I mean, I barely played the beta, so I didn't have enough of a say to really say these were fine or these were shit. But I can't really hate on Jagex for saying, hey, I don't really think this is in a great position, and rather than get something shit out, just to appease the fucking higher ups or whatever, we're gonna actually we're gonna scrap this, and we can bring it back at another date when we might be a little bit more confident in it. And I saw that, and that showed me something that I don't think I saw from them in a while, because I felt like a lot of their previous updates were just rushed to get something out because we said we'd get something out and it's going to look really bad if we don't. So the fact that they actually managed to take the time and say like, "Yo, like, sorry," I saw that as a good thing. So
that was a big concern when I was messing with the second beta. I was like, I think it was like a month before Desert Treasure 2 was going to come out. I'm like, these are not up to par, and they are not going to be in time, I don't think. So I was really glad that they decided to scrap it instead of like just doing it. Good lord, that would be bad.
Yeah, I mean that's the standard, right? We should have some fucking standards. So
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe they reconsidered.
I was a bit sad just because I wanted to really fuck around those new prayers, and just because there's alright, this is kind of I was being a little bit selfish because I was tired of fucking Tecton. No, just because fuck Tecton. Having something more accurate for hammers is nice. And also I did some simulations to see the odds for like no crystal boss and stuff. That shit skyrocketed. It went from like a 14% to like a 50% potentially. It was that insane. Just for the new prayers. And also I did some other stuff too. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy shit.
The first iteration of prayers felt like it was either completely cracked or unusable everywhere. There was like no in between. It was like insanely overpowered or not very good. Or like an Inferno, just completely unusable, that first edition. And then like the second set, it just felt like a marginal like 2% increase. I was like, okay, this is boring. So that was just like, I don't know, man. We're just not there. Especially taking out Gambit. That was like the one thing that increased skill. And they decided to take out Gambit. Gambit was the overhead that gave accuracy. Yeah, they took out the like one thing that required additional input, so it just felt like slightly better prayers, and I was like, okay, I don't think they nailed it with either set at all.
But they weren't all like better either, because you were able to take chip damage from the protection prayer, right? And the redemption was also worse.
It was just a flat 10% more damage with the wrong prayer up. Chip damage through it would hit you harder. Everything would hit you harder no matter what.
Yeah.
The weird thing about those prayers was the fact that it was known that I saw talk about it, which was the whole, if you change your prayer after you have it on like the wrong prayer at the start and you change it to some other prayer, you don't take the increased damage.
Yeah, there was some weird stuff you could do with like having your prayer off at the right time. Like like we were doing it next, like if you were praying like melee, and that like you'd pray melee when she attack you, and then like turn your prayer off if she maged, and then when the mage hit came, it wouldn't hit you any harder because you'd have no prayer on, because it was having the prayer up that made you take more damage. That was kind of interesting.
That's some spaghetti right
there. It was so minor though that it didn't even feel like worth doing, but it was a really cool concept. I'd love to see them do something like that. The idea of like encouraging taking prayers off is cool.
Yeah, I don't think there's many instances where it's usually like just have your prayer on. There's like a few bosses where it's like if you have it on, you get punished. Like they'll just hit you and punish you, like in quests. But other than that, you don't really see that too often where it's like, in this instance, turn your prayer off now or I fuck you up.
Yeah.
Kind of cool to investigate. But yeah, it's like, it sucked just seeing that kind of void, because I was excited for seeing scroll drops maybe from the bosses, because a little bit more De Niro and just fucking around new prayers, but I honestly respect it now. Like, it's been over a month. I completely understand why they did it, and I respect it. I think it was the right move.
I thought they were way too conservative with some of their pitches. Like some of the ideas were good. Like, hey, you know, you should burn this. What was it for the new rigor or new augury or whatever? They're like, you need to burn a scroll. I was like, yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah, you have to burn the scroll. And I don't remember what they said, but I think they said like you have to. If you already have rigor unlocked, you don't have to unlock it again or something like that. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, there's 500 billion prayer scrolls in the game. Like, nobody is sitting here struggling over that. And I mean, if they are struggling, like, it's not particularly a big deal, because these prayer scrolls, they've been in the game for 5 years. And for those who don't know, for those who weren't there on the release of Chambers of Xeric, the original prayer scroll drop rate was 8 times rarer than it is today. And it's been like that for pretty much since a month after Chambers release, because 1 month into release, they said, okay, Like, these are a little bit more common. So it used to drop as 1 prayer scroll. And they were like, okay, well, these are too rare as it stands right now. We want them to be a little bit more common. We don't want Rigor to be tied to Augury because one of them is clearly more valuable than the other. Makes sense. We're going to split it. That's a good decision, right? But in the same week, I think they also said, we're going to make it, so we're going to split it and we're going to make it both of them 2 times more common. That sounds a little overboard given that it's a item that you only use once on any account.
Yeah.
And we're like 2 weeks in. So, but whatever. We'll let it slide for now. Like a week later, they decide, oh, it's still not like 60 mil or whatever the hell price we wanted at. We're going to multiply both of them by 2 again. So it went in the span of like 2 weeks. It went from its original drop rate to 8 times more common, and it wasn't even a month into release. It was like, how can you be so brash about a decision that literally has permanent consequences? And ever since then, it's like that's why a Dex has been like, I think it's gone up recently, but that used to be like 30 mil.
Yeah.
It used to be like 30 mil like 2 years ago. So clearly it's not like we're fucking short on them, you know. Prayer scrolls were alch value. Like, okay, no, arcanes were an alch value. But they were 600k, and they were so cheap that I have literally bought 5 prayer scrolls for 1 GP each overnight. People were dumping, there was no higher offer. I managed to pick up 5 arcane prayer scrolls for 1 GP each. It's on Reddit. If you don't believe me, I can literally log in and screen share it because I still haven't taken them out of the GE. It's my trophy. Like, the offer is still in the Grand Exchange right now. I have bought 5 arcane prayer scrolls for 1 GP each because the demand is just, we have way too many of them. And the fact that they saw that and were like, oh, you know, like if you already have Augury, you don't have to re-unlock it. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, nobody is struggling to get more arcanes. Like, just feel free to sync them, you know. I didn't think that was that big of a deal, but I don't know. That's my little side rant because that was fucking weird, man. Like, I think they definitely should have done that.
Yeah, I mean, that did feel a little bit overboard, but I think we've spoken a little bit about the prayers now. Let's quickly talk about the drops. How do we feel about the rings, and how do we feel about the axe and Virtus?
I feel like the axe. I mean, I had this opinion even before it came out, but I think it's gonna be for how rare they made it. I feel like it's too niche because it's basically, aside from Vardorvis, it's just a budget scythe. Well, okay, it's very good for PvP though. It's a very good PvP weapon though.
It's best in slot on Warden Core. It's best in slot at Nightmare Zone, and it's best in slot on Vardorvis. That is every single location. It is best in slot. That's it. That's the entire list.
But for the core, don't you have to hit the lose DPS on the boss a few times to like charge it first, or no?
I had it all like worked out. There's like the second down, you have to like do a 4-tick hit at the beginning, and then you do axe to fit in the ticks. It is slightly better.
What the hell?
I don't think it's worth bringing necessarily unless you're like really high raid level. But
yeah.
Kirby, did you say it was good? It was best in slot for PvP? I was like, what?
Oh yeah, I guess I've seen some videos. Like it's sick in PvP because it's like it does so much damage, and like when you spec at the end for a big hit, you heal 40 HP, so you don't have to worry about dying to avenge. Like, but like, and you're hitting like 70s with this axe every 5 ticks. Like, it's kind of cracked for like PvP. I guess it's kind of like a somewhat high risk, but it's expensive, and you're taking like 8 chip damage each time you attack until it's charged. But like, it does some sick damage for just like, obviously, not for like no honor fights where you're praying melee, but like for smite fights where it's like, 2 people and like bounty hunter going at each other, it's like very cracked from what I've seen.
That's very interesting because I actually haven't seen a video on that I saw the one Elliot video where it was bugged and that was fucking hilarious, but outside of
rocking
that,
around one-shotting people, yeah, that's quite.
I don't understand because we had it in beta. How did they fuck that up? Like,
That's my boy
it
Eli
was in
right
beta
now.
and it was fine, and then next thing we know, oh yeah, by the way, now just fucking watch. Like, what? What did they do? What did they do? Before releasing it?
I just love how he kills someone. He's like, no, we're done. I'm not gonna ban, bro.
No.
We're done. I'll give you your shit back, bro. Like, please just don't ban me. But honestly, the fact that it's still good for it, pleasant surprise. I'm happy to hear that because I thought it was good at Duke and Vard, and outside of
good at
that,
Duke
I had
even.
not.
Yeah, Scythe's better.
I've literally not seen a single person use it. So I was like, I heard it was like 3 bill one day. I was like, that's pretty good, and then like a day later, it was like 500 mil. I was like, okay, some things are happening. So
They didn't pitch it as a super OP weapon though. They only pitch it as a, like pretty much that item that is like a little bit worse than a scythe. And they did say it'd be good on 2x2s, but that's it. We have a lot of big boss. We don't have too many 2x2s. And
I voted no to it. I didn't really get the point of like a budget option between Scythe and like we already have Saildor. Like I don't really get what the point of it was. It just feels like a
also
weird
have-
addition.
We have the Fang too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The
Fang.
Fang, yeah.
Yeah.
wild.
Woo! Scythe! He's a scythe when you got a Fang, right? Oh boy. But
It's like a weird addition. I don't know. It's also just stupidly rare.
that too.
Completion to get a Scythe, I feel like, is way faster. Like similar.
Yeah, I feel like that item, it's super rare, so it's like, can you really justify it as an item that you'd get like before the scythe? What takes longer to get? That axe or the scythe?
It's got to be faster. I maybe it's easier to get the axe. Top is I don't know.
Maybe.
Isn't Scythe like?
What is Scythe completion like?
Is it like 1 in
600
180?
trios?
Yeah,
it's
1 in 180-ish.
But you have to
but
multiply
amongst your
by the amount of
teammates,
people.
yeah.
So if you do 3 trios an hour, it'd be 180 hours. But I think you can do faster than 3
yeah.
trios an hour. A little bit faster, maybe.
I don't think
It's
you're
like
getting an axe in 180 hours.
3.5. If you're fast with Becky, you can do like 3.5 trios an hour, I'd say, realistically.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
you also have Virtus, which is also kind of like that. I mean, they pitched it for. I guess it's more like a PvP item because it seems really good for PvP.
It's mainly for PvP, barrage test, and it's like a in-between step to Ancestral. Because it's still better than Arims.
Yeah, I think it's fine to have like a little middle ground pace. It just sucks 'cause it's an item like Virtus, right? Maybe it's just because my background in RS2. That shit was BIS back then, bro. It was BIS. And for them to make it worse than Ancestral, it's just like, you're doing my childhood injustice, bro. That's fucked up.
I kind of get where you're coming from, yeah.
It's a nostalgia thing for me. Otherwise, I would just be like, I'm okay with it, but I don't know.
I feel a bit of the nostalgia, but I'm honestly, I'm pleasantly surprised because I thought it was just going to be actual dead content. The fact that like I've seen it, especially like with the prominence. I mean, not just in Deadman mode, but like it really is fucking pretty damn popular in PKing. Like the Bofa Virtus setup is like very common, and I wasn't expecting it to be that common. So I was pleasantly surprised because I went into it thinking like, oh, they're gonna take this childhood next set that was like, oh my god, it's so expensive, it looks so cool, and I thought they were just gonna completely like massacre it, like nobody was gonna use it at all. But the fact that it's like it's still used and like in PvP no less, where like I was never rich enough to have a next set until I played Soul Split. But
Me neither.
guy for his weirdness. So for me, that holds some special place in my heart. Not really, but a little bit. So I was like, oh well, like that's very. Oh well, at least it's useful for something. So, 'cause I thought it wasn't going to be useful for shit. So
yeah,
pretty happy with that.
You also use it in TOB One Piece because it gives a barrage max hit while losing the same max hit.
Ooh, the guys in the lab. I like that.
People also use it in normal spellbook PKing because it's like it gives the accuracy of Ancestral minus like 1 max hit at most.
Oh.
And it's also cheaper than Ancestral, so yeah.
Pretty good.
So yeah, that's some pretty good
It's
use.
the PvP set then.
Yeah, more
Some PvM
PvP.
use. Mostly PvP though.
And like Slayer, but yeah.
Well, I couldn't tell you the last time I did some fucking Slayer. outside of the guys grinding out Deadman mode, oh my god, I don't know how those guys are doing Slayer nonstop. Those guys have strong mental.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, a very pleasant surprise, I'd say. I'm happy.
Yeah. I thought moving on, I think the rings were good. It's just only issue is the whole, we spoke about it earlier, the whole light barrier versus the other rings thing, where light barrier in itself is just a very strong ring. But I thought having new rings were good. The ones that don't really feel that they do much right now is probably the range one, but that's just because you don't really get a max in some instances.
Yeah. I did see it's really good for Slayer because it gives Venator max hit. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's like it. That's like
Venator ring is only for Venator bow and for 5 caves speedruns.
Yeah.
I believe.
5 caves, yeah, okay.
I don't know if I saw people doing Inferno speeds with the ring.
No,
I swear I saw some
we
people
used it
doing
for next speedrun. That ring helped us get the fucking speedrun cup prize. That that has to be put up there. Next speedrun, Pog.
Next speedrun's actually really fun to watch, honestly.
Honestly, that was more fun to run than I'd like to admit. But
It was so fun, yeah.
Same.
Yeah, and it was only because like the week before I was on the next team, it was terrible. I heard everybody was like, "Oh my god, this is fucking shit." They're like banging their head into the wall. And then when we heard the Kirby strat, that was when I was like, "Okay, man, this ain't too bad. This ain't too bad."
What was the Kirby strat?
Like we made sure we ZCB'd a minion so that we wouldn't get reavers because we like do it more hits.
Oh, that is smart because if you get reavers, that kind of fucks you big time.
And you just have like a couple people ZCB, and everyone else like Void Waker, so it kind of bounces out.
That's holy shit. That's actually
it was pretty fun. It was actually pretty fun, and not just because shots died to Nex multiple times. No way I put him on blast like that. Yeah. No way I put him on blast like that. I leached the team and then I put him on blast. Oh shit.
Oh man, we know what shots is good for. Good for the chambers. He's very poggers at chambers.
Very
Happy birthday shots.
Happy birthday shots.
Happy birthday, Archie.
South Sudan.
But yeah, I thought the rewards are okay. It's just like some of them are just like the axe just feels kind of underutilized. Maybe we'll see some more use for in the future. But that's kind of bleh. And then I almost like Pernix? Virtus. I said Pernix, so I got it mixed up. Virtus is just a PvP set, but I think it's fine. But
This is mainly the X and the Venator ring for me that are like, yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah.
Alright. Let's move on to the next subject, which is probably not to sit on this one too long because it's just going to be mostly speculation. But yeah, guys, Sailing Pass, new skill, woo! How's everyone feel about that?
Yay.
How many people here are maxed? How about that?
Me.
I'm not maxed.
Non-maxers?
Right here.
I'm not maxed either. Let's go. Let's fucking go, my man Kirby.
Bro, you're not even 99 prayer, bro. What are we doing?
Very difficult skill to train. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure why you have to point that out like that, but
Toxic.
You mentioned it earlier in a blip chat. How am I not to fucking... I shared that message earlier, dude.
No, I was writing a very formal application. And turns out I did not have the skill requirements. Unlucky. But at any rate, wait, what the I got sidetracked. What are we looking at again?
We're talking about
Scaling. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, so it's nice that I mean, I don't know. Some stuff is we're seeing some changes, and with the little uptick, I have a little bit more faith in Jagex now, contrary to like maybe a year ago or like 2 years ago. So I hope they can do it well, but I know a lot of people are like really polarized by it. I look at it and I'm like, look, I don't hate it, I don't love it. I think the right way to approach it is to take the exploration route, as a lot of people have said. Because obviously, nobody wants to do that fucking Bon Voyage bullshit, where they're just clicking that.
No.
But I refuse to believe that Jagex actually thought that would be a skill. That's not what they're thinking. Like, they've got to be thinking, like, you go find new islands, you get a new mini boss, you do this, you find... I'm assuming it's going to be something like that, and they put an actual effort, and they're going to sink a year and a half into it. Or, I don't know, they said it's projected for, like, what, late 2024?
Yeah.
Like I'd be willing to put some faith in them and say like it probably won't be that shit. So I've got high hopes.
How I view sailing is I view it as kind of like a huge content expansion to just various aspects of the game, but bringing it in as a skill just means that you kind of like skill locked from doing certain things until you hit higher levels, which kind of sucks. That was like kind of my gripe with dungeoneering, because it's like I enjoy dungeoneering, or at least now I would probably enjoy it. When I was younger, it felt like a chore because I had to go for chaos. It's like, fuck, I want this, but I don't want to do dungeoneering. But it's just like you couldn't get to the good stuff until you got more levels, and that's what I didn't like too much.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that we can really like customize our ship and like I feel like that's something could be really cool if like the ships aren't just like cookie cutter. You can kind of like customize it, be like, I don't know, do some unique sort of traveling or combat with it. That'd be really cool.
It's gonna be a fucking player-owned house on wheels.
Surely. Also, I'm hoping that we do get the option to like, if we see an NPC, we can ask them, do you know the way?
What the? You have that, man? What? How many of these things you have? Oh my god! You got one of Nutai's profile picture too, bro?
Maybe.
That would
Who
be
knows?
a fucking plot twist. Motherfucking hairy ball out of nowhere. Holy shit.
Actually, I got it as a gift from my fiance's younger sister back in July for my birthday.
Jesus.
I really hope
Everyone else. Oh, I was go on. I was asking how everyone else feels. Sorry.
I have a strong opinion, but I hope it's gonna be fast to train at least, because it's a pretty new skill and people are max. So
Never crafting rates, please.
yeah, just make it fast or faster than crafting at least.
All the training
Also-
methods for it I saw looked pretty boring, except for like the Slayer monsters and the like hunting sea monsters. That sounded pretty interesting.
Ooh.
Potentially, maybe like the sepulcher like courses they're adding. Maybe all the like dredging and stuff sounds like a slog. I don't know.
There's
I wonder
lots
if
of
they
good ways
boat
they can approach
racing.
it.
What'd you say, Noob?
We need some boat racing.
Holy.
Boat racing?
Boat esports.
Bro, motherfucker. Of course, the fucking guy I called Speed Racer like a few weeks ago is like, we need boat racing.
What?
He's actually Speed Racer in RuneScape, bro. I'm telling you.
Nah.
I'm not gonna explain the joke there for Noob Type's integrity.
Someone mentioned that like the time delay honestly might have influenced some of their votes, because I heard some people voted yes, but then when they heard that it wasn't going to come out for like more than a year, they were like, I would have much preferred that dev time be put towards like a new raid or something. So like they would have in turn voted no if they knew how long it was going to take. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but it wasn't something I considered, at least.
I don't know
That's
if
not
they're
a
gonna
thing. That's not a thing
Oh,
most
go
people
on.
consider. I think when they vote, I wish they had like a value on the polls, or like just give a rough guesstimate of how like difficult something is to add. I don't know. It would definitely
Yeah.
change the way I vote for things.
Yeah, it'd be super nice just seeing a little priority list type.
That would be nice. Yeah, it would be really nice to see like, okay, this is the dev time and expectation, but it's kind of hard to, you know.
If they had like this is a tier 3 edition, it would take like roughly 3 to 6 months. Like that might change.
Oh yeah, I think
If they
that'd
had
be
like
good way
a
of doing
rough
it.
like approximate, that would be helpful. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope they're gonna add like shortcuts with the skill. Like imagine being able to sail like, I don't know, from the lighthouse to the fishing colony or to Lunar Isle or something, right? That'd be interesting as
Yeah.
well.
So yeah, I'm hoping that one, we have a lot of different ways to train it, and they have like kind of decent experience. So that way, if there's something you don't enjoy, you don't have to do it, or you can kind of mix it up, like etc. etc. That'd be really nice, because if it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, you don't like dredging, well guess what? You get the most XP out of it. People are not gonna be happy about that. Like,
I was always really hoping they were going to go the dungeoneering route and be like you're going to a like randomly generated island, clearing it out, fighting a boss in the middle, and then moving on to a different one. I was hoping they would do that. Doesn't seem like they're doing anything similar to that though.
They could make that a mini game. You never know, but
maybe.
Because they did say something like, you know, raids for Sea Fiend in the summit, if I recall correctly. So that could end up being the next raid, is a Sea Fiend raid. But yes, what kind of rewards are we looking at for this content, boys? Pretty vast. They can do a lot of different things with it.
Yeah, I never really thought
Good
about
talk.
it.
I think it's
Have they
mostly
pitched anything
access
so
to new
far?
areas and things.
Yeah, underwater raids.
Yeah.
I mean, new areas, new materials. You can make new potions, and also, of course, new enemies to kill, which drop new things too. So it's just like
Dungeoneering had like resource dungeons on the surface. I'm assuming there's going to be like resource islands probably. It wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise me that you
Yeah.
unlock.
Raids
could be
4 is
good.
all water level. Let's go.
Thematically, I could see them tying it to some of the like what's the Ashihama thing? The fucking-
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, they could
but
tie it to the land.
Ushanko
like-
Isles?
Yeah, or whatever the hell it's called. Like because I mean, maybe you could like find some. Maybe you like find a sunken ship from like fucking the Eastern Islands or the Western Islands, and you could find like resources there that would be like, so like I don't know, Dream, for example, because what with the Nightmare, like I know they use Dream or whatever. Like I think it'd be a thematic way to incorporate a bunch of their a bunch of new effects that we don't usually see from standard potions. But they'd have to find some sort of way to. I mean, they don't have to, right? They could just kind of say like, "Hey, this is a potion that you can now get." But I don't know. I guess I'm just like being a weird lore nerd right now, just because I like it when things line up with some sort of reason behind it. But
Yeah.
like that would be an easy way for them to like tie in other lands to it, and also give a bit of a teaser towards it too, because it's like they keep hinting that it's like, oh, there's land to the left, there's land to the east and west, right? And you'd be able to see a little bit of insight onto what might come in the future, assuming we ever get there. So
yeah, there's also a
cool.
Cthulhu-esque deity that we also saw a reference to named Zotok in the Desert Treasure 2. We saw a little glimpse of that in the Whisperer portion when you went into the little thing in the middle. And you saw that obelisk. That is because of Zotok. So that whole civilization down there basically got ruined by him. And because the fact that in the pirate storyline, there's lots of mentions of Zotok, and I think in one of the was like Pieces of Hate or something, which is like one of the final quests in RS3. He plays a huge fucking role in that quest line. So excellent opportunity to introduce a very big bad into the game.
yeah, so like if that's the thing with the Whisper, then like maybe they give you like a fucking maybe you tie that in with like the Shadow Realm, right? So you get some sort of potion for the Shadow Realm, and that could like be their way to integrate prayer renewals. So it's like, okay, they had to deal with the Whisper in the east or whatever, and they had to counter it, they had like prayer renewals that you could do. Like there's a ton of different things that they could implement that could make it kind of cool.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if there's really anything else to really say, because like I said, it's mostly speculation, but like I guess we're just going to see what ends up happening with the skill. Would you guys have liked to see a different skill, or just something different altogether with what they're going to be doing with sailing?
Invention, please.
Would be nice.
Invention's really good. Like, it's actually really good. It's one of the greatest ways to sync items in the game.
Invention solved so many issues. It made clue scrolls profitable, which is really cool. And then it also just made a bunch of like mid-level moneymakers good again, which is really, really good. And it gave like really, really wealthy players something to sink money into, put money back in the economy.
I mean,
Just
that
kind of
just
solved
sounds
all the
super
issues in
good.
one fell swoop. It was kind of crazy.
Cracked skill.
Yeah, that's the one. I don't know like too much. I've like read up about it and just like all the gizmos and all the augmentations you can do. But I'm just thinking to myself, imagine if you like worked your ass off to augment your Scythe, and like maybe one of the gizmos you can have to it is like maybe there's like a small chance it double hits. Maybe there's a small chance you like hit a crit. It's a max hit. There's like so many different things they can add to weapons alongside solving a lot of issues like Gnome said.
Give a chance for the Fang effect on hit splats. There's a lot of things you can do. They have a lot that are like that already in RS3.
Damn, yeah, that's cool.
The way you trained it was fun too, like leveling up weapons. You'd have the choice of like dumping a lot of money into it and using really expensive weapons and just breaking them down early, or just siphoning them for XP, or using lower tier weapons and breaking those down. There's a lot of thought to how you like trained it. It was fun.
It's actually a really nice passive way of doing it. Is just like training up via just combat, because early on you need to be doing a lot of combat to get your stats up. So it's actually a pretty good way to train it up. So
I think I talked to HiImSido like briefly about it. They did consider invention, and they were saying that they really didn't want it to be buyable. I think from their survey they showed that nobody wants a buyable or something like that. It's not really a buyable, but I think they were saying they like discussed it, and they were saying like coming out with that as the first skill. They didn't think that would sell super well. I'm hoping they consider it after sailing, maybe.
fingers crossed. I think it'd be kind of nice. It's a nice skill that I think would pretty much fit thematically. Got the dwarves and shit, right? You need into some tinkering in the technology, so.
If you don't want to go that route with it, you can always call it like enchantment or something tied into magic.
Shamanism.
Yeah.
I mean, what did you guys think about sailing versus the other ones? Because I mean, I didn't really lean towards like shamanism, or I don't even remember what the other one was, but
Taming.
Oh yeah, like
I voted for
Basically
sailing.
Pokemon, bro. I voted sailing.
Pokemon Go.
yeah. I saw sailing and I just was like nostalgia, because we've been talking about sailing for like a decade now. So I was like, okay, yeah, like if we get sailing, we get sailing. Yeah, but
I was hoping it'd be
know-
better themed engineering. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. Yeah, send it.
Yeah, I mean they can still go down that route. So if they do that, that'll be really nice. But
Yeah.
I know a lot of people were like, I really want shamanism, or I really want taming, and I was like, well, fair
The
enough.
thing is, though, like with Dungeoneering or even the Colosseum, right? Think content that's varied from like time to time, which really opens the gate for mastery, because you never know what you're going to end up with, is good. It's really replayable, especially if there's rewards to it. So hopefully sailing introduces something like that. Alright. Let's move on to the next one, which is going to be talking about revisiting old content, since in the summit they talked about quality of life stuff, the scouting changes, and of course we've seen how some items have changed content, as well as we've kind of seen how they've approached making adjustments to stuff like TOA. So this is an opportunity for us to talk about that. My question is this for you guys: do you think there should be more of an emphasis for quality of life or general changes to content versus you put out content, make a few changes, a little bit of dust for like a week or so, and then you move on to whatever's next on their agenda? Do you think they should spend more time to make something good and then move on to the next thing for like maybe a month or two?
I feel like they could use a little bit more. Like we went like how many years since the Chambers changes, and I feel like there's still more Chambers quals that people want that we're still not getting. I feel like they could put, we still want to get some new content, I think, to keep people in the game interested, but I think definitely a bit more emphasis on qual and fixing old content, because it's quite silly. Like people have been complaining so much about scouting and other stuff for so long, and it takes so long for those changes to happen.
And Tecton, yeah.
Tecton.
Regular chamber.
Tecton and Mutadial.
Baba.
Baba.
Regular chambers is literally some of the most fun content to speedrun. and
Yeah.
it's just such a shame because it's locked behind like going to
Ouch.
Discord. Yeah, like Discords that have like scouting bots or like trying to compete with 30 different people in Weeda raids or manually scouting yourself with like 6 friends. It's
And just be a streamer and use your streamer power and be like, hey, can you guys scout for me? I'm just gonna sit here and drink from my water. You guys scout for me. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
No, I'm not afraid of that. But I don't know. It's definitely some of the most fun content to speedrun, in my opinion, and I've seen that from some other streamers as well. So it's just a shame that it's locked because personally, I'm not as big a fan of CMs, and it's just like, damn man, I really like Chambers. It's one of my favorite raids. I think. Well, I mean, it's not saying much when there's 3 raids, but I think it's a very. It might be my favorite raid. I don't know. It's like very, very close between top. So I'd like to do more of it without having to be forced to reset tech time. Or I mean, you can do CMs too, but it's just generally longer. Generally requires a more organized team, and compared to regulars you just run in, send it, have a little bit of fun. It's jokes. So.
I'm starting to feel that trios are kind of getting close to what 5s are regarding CMs because of all the new gear. Because the one thing that really sucked with trios back then was just the tech done resets, but I think it's starting to get a lot better, especially if you're just capturing money running it.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way that's nice, but it's just still like major gripes. If we're looking at CMs, tech done Monodal fucking suck. It's either Monodal, who literally is bitch slapping the fuck out of you nonstop, no counterplay, because even if you play correctly or try to play correctly, it's like, it's literally an LMS deathmatch against 10-13 when you're in that fucking room. And then Tecton, it's just like, okay, so this is my hand, okay? I am punching this over and over again and not making a dent. And I'm doing it again. I'm literally punching this for no fucking reason. That's Tecton in a nutshell. You're fucking hitting a brick wall. I think it's safe to say defense in this game, it does not feel good when you're hitting someone that is tanky, especially like CG boss, where the times hella vary. So I'm just hoping that they make changes to Tecton's defense, because
it's like average 20 minutes to start a solo CM. It's pretty bad. Even with ult like pot sharing, that's like as efficient as you can get. It's like 20 minutes.
What a crazy statement. You
Yeah.
can plot the content, but you have to do.
And that's
20
like
minutes.
average. You know, sometimes you have the times where you go like 30 to 40 resets. That's happened a lot of times.
It's like, what, Jagex?
And don't forget the variance in Monodal when you're in the raid. If you just get blasted,
Oh, I'm
it's like,
pacing wreck,
That's what I
and
said.
all my brews are gone, and I'm dead.
10-13, bro. 10-13 is Monodal.
Yep.
So one thing I do want them to change is like make things more consistent. So like Tecton, for example, not having to deal with a bunch of mishammers before you can send in like a decent run. Same with Muradal, like as you guys said, that room can like end your supply count. Then Toa, Akka specifically. So that's 60-second rule. When we don't take a single melee and it switches pairs, I think that should be like fixed. I don't think you should be screwed over just by pure RNG. I think things should be consistent to where like if you mess up, then you get screwed over pretty much.
It's an RNG game, right? Like there's gonna be variation no matter what. Like you can't ask for that all to be removed. But those rooms that have like the like 2 or 3 minutes on the bad end of like variation, it's like
like
pinch that down a little bit.
I want to call it the end all be all of RNG, where it's like if something bad, like if that one thing happens, you're kind of fucked. So you're just hoping that either that Akka doesn't change, because we know that Mage is the top tier DPS in that room, or you don't get railed at Monodal, because that does not feel good when you feel like you're on pace and in the bin.
Even just the mining room in Toa is like annoying. You lose like 30 seconds when you get the wrong layout. It's like, good lord.
Yeah, just like aspects like those, like you lose a bunch of time just because of like RNG. I think those should be like adjusted to where like it's much more consistent.
Yeah.
It's not just like time and dying. It's also if like Baba ways were way different, TOA would have been way better received in the public. I think. Like if they made the
Yeah.
changes that they're proposing or that they're upcoming possibly way earlier, TOA would have been like way better received.
Why do we have to wait a full calendar year?
That's what happened with Chambers, where it's like, okay, they made some changes early on with Chambers, the good ones, like they added a chest. Actually, wait, how long did it take for them? It took them a while, but they added an extra patch because you only had one patch back then. It was fucking terrible. Never again. That shit was actually so bad. There was a layout where if you didn't have an axe or a tinderbox with you, or just an axe, Ice Demon was impossible. Like you couldn't do the raid. You had to reset. There was a layout like that. It's like these changes should come now when there's a lot of people interacting with the content, because the longer you take, the less people that are really going to benefit from it, because you're going to have people burn out from it fast and just sour. First impressions matter the most. Once you fuck up that first impression, it can be really doomed. It's really hard to bring people back.
I think they've determined that, like, I feel like they have a value associated with each update, and they're like, oh, these like QL changes like take us some time, and it's like not worth it for us to like it's like better to just like drop it and move on to the next thing. They feel like that affects more people and like helps them more. I feel like they should just like really like assign like a block after they release something big like TOA and just be like refine it for that. Like it's never going to be perfect on release, and they can't just expect it to be.
Yeah. I just feel like that's going to be the biggest impact, is making changes now than never or later. Especially, I know TOA needs like a lot of changes because people want to see more invocations and stuff. It's a good raid in the eyes of like anyone that's getting into raids. I will say that. It's good there. It's just that replayability for people who are massive sweat lords and have nothing but better to do in their time. It's just like, come on, man. I got thrown off because I was like, what is that moving thing? It's like Kirby's like creeping over. Like, what the fuck is going on over there?
A shadow.
It's fucking shadow, bro. Fucking Aka's shadows in his background. But yeah, just like having an increase in skill floor, just adding more mechanics. Maybe something like Enrage would be nice, and not just, oh, there's more defense. Oh, there's more health. It's much longer now. Like, is that really exciting? Not really.
They should have like that first month. They should have completely changed Baba, and they should have like reworked a bunch of things. Like absolutely, I don't think they should have left the fact that Red X Baba is still tech, dude.
So dumb.
I mean, I don't understand.
They should have immediately like, oh hey, this isn't working as we hoped. Okay, we'll swap it out.
I have a pitch for it, but it's just kind of it would be like a complete redo of the room and like change kind of the emphasis. Where like Baba starts off not really doing that much damage, but there's more emphasis in like trying to protect the coffins, because if the coffins open up, then that bitch will hit much harder. But I think like based on invocations, there'll be more things that come in the room, like the monkeys from the other room, or there'll be more people trying to hit it. And if it does get open, does it stay open permanently, or maybe over time shit will get cursed and you'll have to like uncurse it with prayer. If you don't have enough prayer, then you sacrifice HP instead, like, etc., etc. That was kind of an idea I had, and I think I mentioned it with The Rock when I did my podcast with him, but that's just one idea, right? My idea might not be the best idea, but I would say that's an okay, like, idea right there, just off the bat. Like, just napkin writing there. That's an idea of how they could change the room instead of it being Red X Sim, because how is that, like, as a raid boss? How is Red X Sim okay? I don't think that's okay at all. That's just not good. If you have a raid boss, you want to be able to interact with it outside of just Red X Sim, right? It's not very interactive.
It's nothing. You do nothing. The whole fight.
It's awful.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I just don't understand the like. If there was one thing that I didn't really get about this, is just where their sense of priority is, because like this was their first big raid. I mean, this was their biggest update in like 5 years, I would argue, right?
Yeah.
So for that to happen and for it to come out, because I mean, I think everybody had a video about like our thoughts on TOA, right? Like tons of things were mentioned and brought up within like the first month. You know, light bear is too common. Yeah. Fang's too common. Yeah, you know, like this is buggy. This is like some of the things still haven't been touched since then, right? But it was just crazy to me that their biggest update after 5 years, and like there's very many known issues with it. And instead of like trying to correct it with some sense of urgency, it felt like they just decided to fuck off I mean, you know, I would have thought the biggest update, you know, we'd feel the need to fix it. I mean, like it's not every day we get a giant surge of players like this, right? And I've seen tons of people say like, well, it was a success though because there's a lot of people playing it. It's like, well, how can you really call that a success? Like if you manage to secure 1 million players, but if you played it perfectly or mildly better, like you would have had 5 million players, it's like, do you call a 20% conversion rate success? I'm not saying that we would have had 5 million, right? But I'm saying like the idea that it's a success just because right now we think there's a lot of people playing is like, I think that's very misguided. And the fact that in such a crucial time, they just kind of decided to, you know, we'll leave it like that. It's like, it was very weird. It was the most urgent time, and they decided to just take their hands off the wheel. And now that we're a year later, it's like, oh, okay, we'll come back to it now. It's like the hype died fucking 8 months ago. It's very, very weird. I don't understand their sense of priority.
I mean, maybe it is just the priority of always trying to include something new into the game, but I don't know. I just feel like more emphasis on focusing on feedback and, you know, getting in those quality of life or just changes that would make it, I think it will be generally better, is more important than just feeding the fire of just adding in more and more updates. Don't get me wrong, like new updates is always nice because having something brand new to do where it's like discovery, it could be challenging, or maybe, you know, just having fun with something new is nice, but at the same time,
RS3 has like a ninja team. So they're just like the engine guys in the background. It's a little group of like devs, and then they just like fix things occasionally, like little QOL things in the background. That's really nice. I wish they would do something like that. Just have like a team always like cracking away at little things like that.
I think how they've been doing it is they've been splitting up their teams now. I don't know if there's a QOL team or not, but having a team that's just there for like a QOL change. If there's like no QOL in the backlog at all, then just have them like allocate their time somewhere else. But maybe have a team that's focused primarily on just QOL and, you know, adjusting content as it needs to be.
The little engine tweaks,
nice.
Yeah,
like little engine tweaks would be nice.
I think what they should be doing is when new content comes out, after 2 weeks we get the drop rates and the stats right. What they should do is after 4 weeks of the new content, they should like look back at what is happening, what is the feedback, should we change anything, is there any quality of life. They should review the content after a month, in my opinion, after its release.
Yeah, that's the point where the
1,000%.
like loot has kind of like settled on the values. Give them a chance to like look at it and see if everything's in a decent spot, which TOA is not. You know, like gives you a chance to like make sure everything's working as expected. Go back, tweak things.
Also lets people like, when we have the stats, figure out the meta, play the meta, how does it feel, how do we like it, etc.
Yeah, meta's always pretty established like a month in, I would say, almost always.
Yeah.
Unless someone finds out something like, oh yeah, by the way, Verzik P2 is iced defense.
I was gonna mention that. So that's something that's come up recently, that Shadow is better at P2 Verzik in the full 8-way mage with the ring. Without the boots at least. I think that's really bad because TB is like, you know, you want to Scythe everything. Scythe should be past the slot. It gives the Scythe, you know. Now the question is, we know that's happened recently. Are they gonna address it at all? And are they gonna address it quickly if so?
I don't think they've said anything about it. I wonder if they're just gonna address it by adding something that just makes Scythe just better. Maybe, I don't know, maybe fucking Slash Inquisitor or some bullshit. I don't know. But it's just like you get this item from the raid. You assume it's going to be the item that you want to use in the raid. Like T-Bow's that way, Shadow's that way. But now it's like, hey guys, it's me, the Shadow. Scythe, peace, bitch. I'm taking your job now. Doesn't feel right.
You do have to like sacrifice your inventory and like setup and everything, but
Yeah.
it still just feels wrong. Like just please buff the mage defense or something. Like do something.
Ringout said not enough people bring the mage switch for them to care to do anything. So who knows if they'll make changes or not. But then again, I don't think they've really talked about it at all. So it's probably just like it's in the dark. It's probably not something people really care too much about aside from us players that just can't TOB, I guess. So it might just be the small minority of us just being like, fuck this shit.
Maybe.
You know? Yeah. They probably won't really care too much. But then again, that is kind of an issue where it's like Scythe is kind of underused a lot, I'd say. There's like a few places where it's good, but outside of that, it's just like you don't see it at TOA because Fang. And then there's a lot of places where you could just use the Fang as well, which is something we should probably talk about. Well, it's just people's general thoughts on the Fang. How do we feel about the Fang?
It needs the slash option to not have the double accuracy for sure.
Needs to also be hella more expensive, but ship has sailed, right?
Ship has sailed.
Yeah, having
Yeah,
people most
fair enough.
common drop at TOA was interesting decision.
They picked the best drops. I mean, maybe not. I mean, they picked two of the best drops, two of three of the best drops, I'd say, and made them the most common. And that was just such a wild decision.
I don't know,
It's
everything
like,
from TOA is just so good.
Yeah.
Ward?
I've been looking at like the rates, like TOA purples are just so common. And I think it's just because they didn't expect people to be grinding 400s. Like they genuinely thought 300s was really, really hard. If you look at a 300 rate, it's like similar to like TOB or a CM. So when you get into 400s, which are like, I forget, like a 450 is like 6% higher purple chance or something. It's like 50% faster completion than the other raids. It's ridiculous.
Okay, you know, that makes a lot of sense when you put it like that. I've always like thought to myself, like, why is it that these drops are just so much more common than TOB or
That's because they had a like perspective issue. I don't know.
They also, at some point, the drop rate as you went to higher levels didn't really scale that well, and they made like a huge change to the drop rate formula partway through, where like they made harder level rates more worth doing because people were complaining so much about the drop rates. So I think that might be part of it.
But it was just because people were doing 150s over 300s, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
Doing the lower invocation gives you more GP per hour than the one that's supposed to be harder.
I guess that's why before we thought 400s would be fine, because 400s were shit to do.
Yeah. But, I don't know, I just feel like that slash option should probably go. I feel like it's a strong weapon with just stab on its own, but the slash option just... Especially because that new ring, okay? The Bellator with the fucking Fang is gross. Basically doubling the slash bonus of that thing. It's crazy.
I forgot about that, but yeah, the Fang effect with that.
So if there's anything that comes into the game that adds slash or stab, you're basically doubling it when you're using the Fang.
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
We have all these weapons that like cover everything now. We have T-Bow that covers things with high mage, like it's almost always best. And then we have Shadow is best if they have low mage. And then Fang is best if they have super high defense. Scythe needs a lot of things like working together to make it work. Fang doesn't really. Shadow, T-Bow don't really. Everything's covered.
Yeah, it's just like...
Fang doesn't need that slash option. It's destroying things. I don't know.
I just feel like that weapon is the Swiss Army knife of the game.
Literally.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, because it's like... The Bofa was added, and that was kind of like that stepping stone for, you know, range weapons. When you're going from Bofa to T-Bow. There's a lot of things that T-Bow is obviously going to be better for, but the Bofa is still pretty decent. If you don't have a T-Bow, then Bofa still does work. But the Fang kind of devalues so many weapons, or it just fits that kind of slot for so many weapons, because at some point I think it was like better than or close to the Dragon Hunter Lance on Metal Dragons. And on top of that, it's just like so cheap. It's so good in a lot of places. It's so cheap. I think that.
Yeah, it should be worth like 200 mil probably, and I think that's what they wanted.
Yeah, with how it's good, it should.
It would be a lot more reasonable, I think, if it was worth 200 mil, like it should be. But
yeah, because it'd be like a proper raid reward, you know? It's like 30 mil, whatever, of Swiss Army knife.
Swiss Army knife and it is very strong, and I'm hoping that they always say the ship has sailed. No, please, it hasn't sailed. Please make changes. You did it to Zora. It's never too late. Just don't say the ship has sailed. Just accept that you could still make changes to something, even if it might not be changes that people like. Sometimes you just have to, like they did with Shelving the Prairies, right? Sometimes you just gotta put your boots on and just.
It would have been very, very effective if they did this month in and they fixed all the raids then, but still should do it. Definitely.
It was crazy because we all said to do it a month in, and then they were like,
we said it like week 1.
Yeah, and they're like, we're good, bro. And then like 3 months later, too late now. What the fuck you mean too late now?
I don't want to be that guy. It's just like I'm trying to gatekeep these items from fucking players. No, but at the same time, it's like there needs to be proper
kill progression.
Yeah, I don't want to kill progression because progression is important. Now the fact that we've had so many of these items put in the game, now it's like if you try to take these away from players, they're gonna cry like toddlers. I want people to work their way to getting it, whatever it's like the bow fund, you grind the content for it, you grind the money for it. I want it to be the same way because that item is super strong. Okay, it's super strong. It would be stupid to not say it's strong. It is very strong, and I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on it.
I think we're actually running into a fairly similar case with the new TOA quality of life thing, where like they've waited so long to do this update that like people are starting to like give it backlash on stuff. And I'm not saying like this is a perfect update because there's some very valid concerns, right? But I think so like some of the stuff I've heard is like, okay, well there's too many, because I think they lowered the wave cap. So now there's too many things now, and people like I'm just getting molested by the monkeys, and it's like, well, the thing is, I don't think you would have had that opinion if it was just like that from the start, right? But I think that because we've waited a year, because I think if most people ran into the monkey room and saw like, oh, well, the room is, I don't know how much faster it is. I'm not logged in, but like, let's say, I don't know, a minute faster, but it's more chaotic. It's a little bit like Nilo, right? It's like when Nilo came out, we weren't exactly, yes, you got destroyed by the aggros, kill the aggros, right? It's like, that's how it was. But now that we've had a full year to adjust to Baba room literally being, I don't know how long for your average raider, like 3 minutes of you like taking 3 damage from like some thralls and stuff. It's like now they come in here and they, like 6 monkeys spawn, they take like 50, 60, 70 damage or whatever, and they're like, oh my god, like this update is terrible. I can't believe they've done this. It's like, I think that's largely just the outcome of them waiting a whole year before they decided to do it. It's like they're shooting themselves in their own foot, because now I think they'll see that and they'll be like, wow, that update was bad after all. It's like, I wouldn't really go that far. I think you just waited a year before you did it. So I really hope they don't go down that approach and think like, oh, like it's bad. It's like
a big issue is a lot of people see they're just taking more damage. They added that change to the shaman, so if you poison them, they stop spawning thralls. But that also means that they start attacking you. So what they've done is they've actually made it like shamans much more dangerous. So it's not, even though there's like more monkey spawning, it's harder. You also have the shamans hitting you more. Now shamans hit you really, really hard. I think people don't even notice that they even attack a lot of time. That's a big reason you take a lot more damage. I don't think they intended that. I think they wanted to make them easier. It's not what they did.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even I don't even know if was anyone even. I don't think anyone was. I don't remember suggesting that, but I mean, like maybe
No, they just
there
randomly
was.
came up with it. I don't. Yeah, it was
That's
weird. Them spawning thralls a lot of times is a good thing. You want to be able to chin off
yeah.
things.
Yeah,
I
So
mean,
chins are
them
good.
attacking you instead is usually a bad thing.
even even if they didn't have chins, I don't think that was ever really a problem because like even the teams that aren't like trying to be efficient, if they don't have chins, someone usually has like barrage. It's like I don't.
Barrage or even just piping them. Like
Yeah,
the thralls
no,
aren't doing the damage. It's the
no
shamans like
one's
caging you.
sitting there and freaking out about the too many thralls. I feel
If
like
you don't know how it works, they have to spawn 4 thralls before they start attacking you. So they very rarely would do it like normally. But now they like actually are hitting you.
very
Yeah,
very
it's,
weird
I don't
change
know,
on their
weird.
part. Yeah. Insightful though. I'm glad you told me that. Like what? All right, Jagex. Maybe they'll have a reason for
I
that.
keep seeing Reddit posts saying like I'm getting destroyed, but they never
I
talk
haven't
about that.
seen
I don't
many.
think they
I
even
need to read
know.
this.
Oh, there's a lot of
Great.
Reddit posts. There was one that said like reverted, I keep dying or something like that.
I love it, man. I love it.
Baba Wave's most dangerous room now.
Yeah, actually, maybe Bob
It always
Williams are actually
was,
good
to
now,
be
but-
honest. Like it was always the biggest supply drain.
Yeah. Oh, this is great. Oh boy. Alright, I know what I'm doing after the stream. Go get a refill of water, read Reddit, just sit back and relax. Bask in the misery now. Kinda interesting to see though. Alright, is there anything else we want to cover regarding like old content? Like how do we feel with all the new items stuff? Well, actually we kind of talked about that, so like is there anything else you guys really want to talk about regarding like looking back at old content or no? Because I feel like we covered most of our bases.
Surely.
The big thing I just want them to work on too is the charges on items, like the cape swapping and the shield
Oh, yeah.
charges and stuff. That's really annoying.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them look at that.
What I'm thinking is okay, this might be kind of strong, but then again, it's only for like speed running, and it would just be like if you use it in like an instance, then you have those whatever charges you go in with, and then once you leave that instance, it refreshes. I don't know how strong that'd be, but then again, it would make it where people who are speedrunning, because it's like a niche crowd, right? I don't think it's game breaking anyway. It would just open up the doors for new metas. Some of those metas might be kind of annoying. So I could see a downside to it, but
My suggestion's always just been like make it so you have to go to like your house altar or something. So like you have to go to a location to recharge it, and make it capped at like 1 or 2 swaps. So you can't just spam it through like an activity, but you can after you're done doing a raid or whatever, you can go recharge it.
oh,
And
that
you make it
actually
like
good, yeah.
you make it sync items at the altar too, whatever you want. Like you can have it dump runes into the cape or whatever you want, if you want.
I feel like it'd be a good addition because you can make some, mix and match like a couple of things with spellbooks. So if you need to freeze something, you can switch. And then if you need to like venge or butcher or thrall even, you can do that by searching between spellbooks. It doesn't have to be like a speed thing only, but it can be like really fun to use in like certain pieces of content.
Yeah. It would definitely open the doors to, kind of binning the need to spellbook swap as much, because you can just be like, oh, well, I could just swap to this now. I don't have to browse anymore. Here comes the thralls.
Yeah.
You don't really worry too much about using as much charges, because it's like sometimes your threshold's bad, so it's like you're not going to bother swapping and just reset, versus just being like, hey, you know what, you could swap now and set it, because limited to 5 a day until the reset sucks. It would really allow people to send more runs a day for people trying to go for records. I don't really see too much harm in doing it. The only harm I could see is like potentially changing metas, but I mean that's just a game in a nutshell, man. Metas are always gonna change. I don't think we should be against metas changing.
That's why I said you
something
cap
new.
it at like 2 swaps. It doesn't change things too much. You just
Yeah.
have 2 swaps a raid. Like keeps it like reasonable. If you make it completely unlimited, that would be insane, but
Yeah, I would think like maybe 2 per raid would actually be pretty decent then.
yeah.
Alright. Alright, so this is gonna be probably a quick one, but let's talk about the PvM Cup a bit. We have some people, I count 3 people in here that were in the
Us?
Speed Cup. right? My math is right. Yeah, I think 3 people in here were in the Speed Cup. Hemis, Toy, and Kirby. So let's talk a little bit about the Speed Cup. How did you guys feel about that content or not, but competition?
It is so good. I love doing it. I hope they're gonna do another one, a 4th edition.
Yeah.
And pretty soon, hopefully. So
I think I'm just happy to help out a fellow content creator, make some. I'd say, I don't know. Innovative's not the right word, but I guess high production value. It felt it's certainly the alley that I'm looking for. The sort of more meaningful content than just like, because like, I don't know. I personally am not as big a fan of just like the day-to-day stream, especially like if I don't have any like goals on the game. It's like I just can't really sit there and like play the game. So the type of thing I want to host is a lot more akin to what EVscape does, which is like, tournaments, like I want to host big events that people like can remember for like 6-7 years to come, because they're going to be like, oh my god, like that was super hype or super memorable, and really give people experiences to remember. So
Yeah.
to be a part of that, like I'd say from the competitor end, it's a lot more stressful than the viewer end, obviously, but it's because it came with its own circumstances. It was a pretty time crunched tournament, but I'm just happy that I could help a friend out, and we could help some boys. Like, I don't know, he had like 3,000 concurrent viewers for like the entire weekend. Is like, if we could help those people just kind of like think, oh my god, like speedrunning was kind of fucking sick, like mission accomplished, because I mean that's what we're really here to do. But at the very least, from a competitor's perspective, it was very time crunched the deeper you got, because the first round we're sending something like 5 bosses in 1 week, and that's not that bad, right? Like you can do that, especially if you have a more lax role. Like my team was, I'm not afraid to admit that, like, they were kind of carrying my ass, bro. Like they were potting a lot of bosses, and especially for the first 2 weeks, like I wasn't contributing as much as I felt like I should have. But like by the end of it, it was like, oh my god, you had to do 9 bosses and you still only had a 1 week. So it was definitely getting a lot harder by the end. But
it wasn't just 9 bosses, because Desert Treasure 2 was 4 bosses by itself as well. Yeah.
Oh my god, that was crazy. And the resetting for that too. Like people watch that, and the Desert Treasure 2 tiles were always done in like 5 minutes. So you're like, oh, like that's cool, that's not that bad. But you watch it, it's like every team was resetting like double rubies on Vard, like
Yeah.
Oh my
4
God.
rubies on Leviathan, double ruby on Whisper. Is like, oh god, like
That sounds awful, man.
yeah. And that, like, respect to my team, because like I didn't even end up doing that. Like I wanted to do some Whisper, and then I ended up grinding Inferno in the first round. But
Bro, can we just say this guy fucking beat Rasta, bro? This motherfucking top 10 or top 1 fucking Rasta coming in. Oh, it's fucking easy. Who the fuck is Oki? And he gets sat the fuck down? That's insane, bro. Fucking get humbled, bitch.
Wait, did you actually see that?
Huh?
Did you actually see that?
Yeah, he hooed out Oki. I was like, what the fuck?
he did who the Oak
Crazy,
Meister,
bro. It's crazy.
the minion
Yo,
man
dude.
himself. Oh,
Like in a
boy.
bad way, or was it like
I
good?
think it was in a
Like,
bad way. Like, when is being hooed in
oh,
like a good way, bro?
I see. I mean, I say that a lot of time because I don't know a lot of people in the community.
It's a joke, yeah, but like, no, he genuinely meant that, dude.
Oh, I see.
I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know the context, but it was pretty interesting, because Oki was definitely he was an underdog. Like people didn't know how good he was, because at the time
I knew he was good.
Yeah,
I knew he was
his
good.
PB was a lot slower, but like people people just see the PV. They didn't understand that like his splits were consistently like very, very nasty. Like I'd say like wreck split. Well, not wreck splits, but like wreckable splits, like consistently. And he was throwing them out nonstop. I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna get a nasty time. And then when it mattered most too, like he just completely smoked the competition. I was like, that's the man. That is the.
I think the craziest was like the final matchup between like you guys and Deo's team, or Numbnuts team. Sorry, Numbnuts, because Numbnuts was the captain. But the fact that you guys beat like the final round, Chambers of Xeric, right? Here I'm thinking to myself, it's literally like the guys who have the wreck versus literally the grandfather of CMs, and you bested them. It was very close to. That was like one of the most nail-biting finishes I've ever seen. Just insane. So I really like the Speedrun Cup, but I'm hoping that... I know it was sponsored by them, but I'm hoping they do something more official like DMM, right? Something that's actually run by them, and they could always have the creators come in, because I think that would really help the viewership too.
Yeah, I feel like one thing about this time, like this is the first time we did the Speedrun Cup where we didn't do the whole like you get limited number of attempts. It's like you have a whole week, you just get that level of pressure and like funny, interesting things happening when it's like you get like 3 attempts or 1 attempt. That's it. Like the Candering clicks in the one Speedrun Cup, and like you're just never gonna get that when it's like you got like all week to get a good run recorded.
Yeah.
Honestly,
The only time you might get that's when you're like hard pacing.
But not level of a Candering clicks when it's like you got a week.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like sometimes there's some Candering clicks even with like maybe you just get really nuts RNG on a run where you play really badly. I think one of my runs was like that. I was like, oh man, I can't believe I have to submit this, but it's definitely bittersweet. I know going into it, I was thinking like, oh yeah, like having a week to run is like good, and you know, of course you're gonna see like more refined content, but definitely there is a beauty to just not knowing what's gonna happen, because when you come in and like there'd be like a certain runs and it's like, okay, I know this is a completion, you know, like I mean Rasta tends to complete his Infernos very frequently, but like if like everybody else, I mean me especially too, is like I go into this, it's like if I only had 3 attempts, it's like maybe I could have died, you don't have a clue, right? And that would have been something sitting at the back of your mind. But like now if I get 46th off spawn and I have 50 HP at like wave 63, you know, so well he wouldn't have submitted it unless he died, or he wouldn't have submitted it if he died. So it kind of kills some of the suspense, and it's even though most of the time we say like, oh yeah, I really like this format, I'd be lying if I said it didn't have its downsides. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's like part of the fun though, because in the grand finals you had not a lot of time to like do everything right. So we did get to see things like dumb not
The CG.
the CG run, or who was the guy? Fiki Gauntlet as well. Oh,
Fiki's corrupt gauntlet. I don't. Fiki, like he was plotting a lot. It was a very, very busy week for him. You can't sleep on Fiki. He had a ton of good preps before that. It was crazy that he did have to submit that though, because I heard the night before that he submitted like 20 minutes before the deadline. I was like, oh well, like don't.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he thought he would have lost it for the team, and we were like, no, dude, like don't worry about it, man. Like you're fine. And then but I didn't watch the run, you know, I was like asleep. So when I actually I get back home and I watch the VOD for the actual speedrun cup and I see his run and I was like, oh, I didn't realize, like I didn't realize it was that crazy. Like I felt so bad. I was like, yeah, man, it's rough to submit that, you know. I'm really happy we won that, because if he did lose that, I feel like he wouldn't have let himself live it down.
Yeah, that would be so fucked.
I was like, oh my god, like thank God we won that, because like Eevescape's like counting. He's like, how many times is he gonna do this? I was like, don't say it, don't, bro, don't do that. I was like, yo.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, it's insane now. We still got like a decent time on that run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am hoping that they do more official stuff. It doesn't have to be like Speedrun Cup. Speedrun Cup is great, but we also had the PvM arena back in the day, and they could always like revitalize that. Just having more official events, because you see like the non-official events always do so well. If we had more official stuff, I would really, it'd be really nice, because they give a lot of love to PvP. Like, don't get me wrong, PvP is kind of underappreciated at times, so it kind of makes sense for them to put a lot of love into DMM, but we do the same with PvM, right? PvM is one of the biggest aspects of the game. There's a lot of competition to it, so I feel like they should embrace that on a more official level.
I wonder if the gears are turning at Jagex, because they sponsored Speedrun Cup 3, and they're also sponsoring YouTubers right now to advertise DMM. So I wonder if like something happened and they're just changing their approach to advertise more, I guess. Help streamers and shit.
That's true.
That's a good sign. It's a very, very good sign, I think. Helping some grassroots. I mean, does that qualify as grassroots? I mean, just helping the community and its own creators build up. I think it helps establish their brand more than anything. And I mean, if you can develop a transparent and loyal relationship between like the content creators, I think you're going to get a lot less. I mean, the content creators really do stir a lot of opinions about the community, and sometimes it's not always good. And I don't mean that in like a fucking threatening sense or whatever, but it's just like it's not the best perception of a game. And when all the content creators are saying like, this update has these problems with it, these guys are burning out, this why you shouldn't play this game in 2023 or whatever, right? It's like, if you can help your creators and stimulate an environment where they actually want to help promote it, like not out of just payment but out of actual loyalty, then it's like,
dub.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it should be a surprise. Like, it's a very good thing to do. But, I'm happy to see Speedrun Cup sponsored. I'd really love to see them bring back that PvM Cup too. Like they need to bring the clan cups with the PvM arena back, because that was honestly, Fort Hazard's calling the Awakened bosses a better raid than TOA. The PvM arena is like 2 raids better than TOA. Like,
fucking PvM arena was so stupid. I loved it. Like, being in there for the 2 rounds that I played was some of the dumbest shit ever. Fucking out of nowhere, Callisto shows up, Kurara shows up. I'm like, we're fucking dead. And this is like old Callisto when he fucking just one bangs you too. It was so dumb, and I loved it.
It was very chaotic, and but the thing is, it was also challenging too. Like, and the fact that they have, like, I wanted to say that they have most of the groundwork already laid out for it. I mean, I think it's kind of crazy that they haven't done anything with it so far. It's like, granted, some of the new bosses might require a lot more to like edit. I mean, I don't know how they're going to take like environmental bosses, for example, because like I think is Vard like set on its mechanics? I'm not 100% sure, because it does do the thing where it entraps you in like that square or whatever. I know Duke is reliant on its environment, so some of the bosses might not be able to be moved into it, but I still think that it could easily be a successful update, even if they just use like what they already have plus, like, I don't know, KBD. You could put like Corp in there. Like, I think that'd be pretty crazy.
Motherfucking imagine P3 Verser pulls up and then you have to fucking kill Corp and fucking Cal Fight Queen at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know if they'd end up doing P3 because Verzik would have to just be P3, and that might be a little bit weird, but it's honestly such a waste of potential to not do anything with it. because it's such a good piece of content. So
Yeah.
in the future, I'd love to see that.
Crazy was like coded overnight too. I think from what Mod Ash said.
Yeah,
Coded it like overnight. I was just like, holy fuck.
ridiculous.
They should combine it with Nightmare Zone bosses.
Oh
Ooh.
no. Oh, dude, that'd be insane.
It's time.
No, that actually is such a fucking cracked idea, Noob. Like, some of those quest bots are fucking scary as shit.
Yeah,
Oh,
then like
fucking...
you can add in the weaker ones as like little minions too.
Imagine fucking Glod comes out of nowhere, bro, and you're trying to hit him, and he fucking does a stomp attack to make you run away. Oh, that shit would be fucking crazy. Holy fuck. That would actually add like a lot of like mechanical depth and ideas, because it's like, which one do you want to focus first? The one that makes you lose DPS because it stun locks you to run away or taunts you, or do you want to kill the one that could potentially kill you, like fucking KQ or Callista? Like, it would add so many fucking layers to it. So something as dumb as simple as that could actually lead to some of the most interesting, hilarious content on Twitch. Because even in its current state, when we did that stream, like over a year ago now, right? It's been a long time. Over a year ago, it led to some of the most funniest moments. So, hopefully they bring it back. Hopefully they do some more official stuff. We love events, you know? We love the events. It also gives people an opportunity to stream something. Like, the MM is always nice because all the streaming traction. But that's also because it's a very long event compared to, like, a PvM tournament, which I kind of guess it's either going to be, like, your best attempts, or if it's just going to be like if everyone just sends like 2-3 runs. There's so many different ways to handle it, but right. Alright guys, so is there anything else that we want to talk about before we conclude the podcast? Is there any burning things that are on your mind right now? Anything you want to talk about before we wrap things up, or we think we're kind of happy with what we've addressed today?
Quite sleep deprived, so I can't. Nothing comes to mind at the moment.
I mean, I don't blame you. I was sleep deprived during your fucking your high risk top tournament, so I was like, I want to go to bed. All right, guys. So if you'd like to take this opportunity to drop your socials in the chat, then feel free to do so. So whoever wants to go first can drop all their stuff. I wish I had a command. I should have made commands for each of you guys. I apologize in that department. Kind of forgot.
I wasn't ready for this.
Oh, fuck's sake. Okay, well, there's
First.
Kirby stuff.
Go plug.
We win.
Twitch.tv/MoGoatKirby, or follow him on his Twitter at twitter.com/MoGoatKirby, who also has a YouTube channel as well.
Oh yeah.
Of the same handle.
Can you only if you like YouTube with some tutorial videos?
Wait, hold on. I got you guys. Hold on. Fuck, what's fucking Toys? Yo, someone that's on Twitch streamer mode, someone give me Toys handle. Is it just rrabbit?
Good handle.
Yeah, his Discord handle.
Oh, it's Rabbit with the consonants doubled, so RRABB.
If you guys have any questions at all, or you're looking to find out how to get girls to love you, just message rrabbit on Discord.
Here's my thingies.
Or if you see any, never mind.
There's no monkey stuff, so go follow him there if you don't. There's New Type's YouTube, and his Twitch. He also has a Twitter. He didn't advertise it, but he does have a Twitter.
Holy.
And then we're just waiting on Hemis' stuff, if you want to plug that, Hemis.
I mean, I don't really need to plug anything. If I'm gonna plug something, I'm just gonna plug like a funny video.
Fair enough.
Maybe like High Risk Top tournament, the original, the GOAT, the one with Tasty, Kirby, Sidog, tons of other people, Addy, 1.3 bill on the line. Yeah, probably the best tournament I've ran so far. If you want to check that out, you can. I put the highlights out on YouTube. They're posted there. It was probably the most proud tournament I've ran so far. So, if you want to know what I'm all about, like, you can go watch that video. Hopefully it brings you some joy, because that shit, I thought that was super fun. So
Agreed. Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed your time here. It was very fun talking with all of you on your discussion. I wish I poked Noob Type a bit more, but at the same time, I don't want to make it feel unnatural. So, really appreciate you, all of you joining me today. Thank you all. I love all of you, and as always, I will probably see you around the next day.
yep, thanks for having me, man.
Bye.
Alright. Boys and girls, before we wrap up, of course, I do have socials myself. If you enjoyed the stream today, drop a follow. I know I don't do these type of podcasts very often. This is like a yearly thing, but gotta make sure it doesn't get stale, right? But I do have a Discord where you'll probably find me after the stream. I have a YouTube and I have a Twitter. So, yeah, go drop a follow if you enjoy it. Alright, boys, we are going to raid the man, the myth, the legend, the Popmeister, and Mr. Pahiz, who is doing world record solo CMs according to the title. So, yeah, let's head on over and say hi to the big man himself. But I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. It's always fun to do these, so hope you enjoyed. Alright. Till next time, everybody. I love all of you.
Peace.
Said that.